robots will be so developed that we won't know whether we're speaking with a human or a robot.
Technology has progressed, but it hasn't reached the level of being practical yet. But the hope is that it will be practical.
A very good evening to all. In this era of unprecedented technological advancement, the role of artificial intelligence in management, hiring, and administration is getting critical. It's time to discuss the changing scenarios and start devising hiring strategies for the future. Grab your superpowers, raising awareness about AI-powered tools and how to turn them into competitive advantages. Redesign your talent filters. It is time to rethink the way we find and hire talent. Learn the strategies for finding the right talents for the future. Talent hunting to talent farming. Creating learning environments that foster the development of the right skills and talents. FirePod 80 is a monthly technological session hosted by Fire Corporation, where technology enthusiasts converge to discuss and analyze the emerging trends in technology. The session aimed to provide a platform for both amateurs and experts to keep a par with the emerging tools and technologies in the IT industry. The objective of this endeavor is to create further tech communities which will enable peer group learning. It aims to inculcate the culture of community of practice for the entrepreneurs, developers, and technology professionals, whereby they ignite the art of knowledge gaining and knowledge sharing. And today, here we are for the 100th edition of NASCOM FirePod 80, Evolve India 2023, preparing for the unpredictable. Let's have a quick recap of FirePod 80. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get started. Mr. Dinesh is 12 years of experience in the IT BPM industry. He has excelled in various roles such as talent attraction, talent development, sales, and key account management. A master at conceptualizing and organizing national events, Dinesh has been instrumental in driving leadership development initiatives in the region. Prior to joining SCOM, Dinesh was responsible for BPM hiring in HGS and traveled across the length and breadth of Kerala to identify top talent. With his extensive experience in the IT BPM industry, Dinesh is the perfect person to welcome our esteemed speakers. Without further ado, I invite Mr. Dinesh for the welcome speech.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. It's my privilege to welcome everyone for the 100th edition of NASSCOM Fireport IT Evolve India 2023. See, we all have been talking about technology and technology disruptions, right? So now we are experiencing technology disruptions. I can't even think about one area where technology have not impacted us. Our health is tech-enabled, our education is tech-enabled. Probably one area which I cannot think about tech enablement right now is religion might be. With these 5G and metaverse advancements tomorrow, you might be able to do a Shabarimala darshan on metaverse. Might happen, right? So what does it mean? It means staying relevant about technology and technology advancements. It means looking onto the future to stay relevant how our work is going to evolve. So this is exactly what NASSCOM Fireport IT does. 100 sessions right now. This clearly shows the kind of commitment the team has towards learning and empowering the community. NASSCOM's collaboration with Fireport IT started somewhere towards the mid-40s when the sessions were happening. And right now we have traveled together towards the 100th edition. And this collaboration has also taken the sessions beyond Trivandrum to Cochin and Calicut. At Cochin, we had completed close to 45, 46 sessions, and at Calicut, we have covered about 32 sessions. Put together, there will be about some 12,000 people who have impacted by these sessions. There were about 200 speakers who have associated with us, and I would say it's a huge, huge, huge thing. It's not a small thing to happen, right? So with this, let me welcome all our speakers, participants, and all the organizers to NASSCOM Fireport IT Evolve India 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Dinesh. Anup P. Ambika is a serial entrepreneur, organizer, and technology enthusiast. He is the co-founder of several technology startups and currently serves as the Chief Executive Officer of Kerala Startup Mission. He has urged the growth of many organizations and also an ardent supporter of Fireport AT and its mission for free knowledge sharing. So here we have Anup Ambika for the inaugural speech.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? All well? 4 o'clock is probably not a nice time to talk to people because, generally people are a bit sleepy. But I feel very proud. And I'll tell you why I feel very proud. I think I was elected, not elected, there was no elections at that time. I was appointed the secretary of GTech in probably around 2010 timeframe. That time I was an entrepreneur. And there was this boy, a vibrant young chap, who came to me and said that I would like to start a technology focus group. Because he felt that, irrespective of everything that GTech does, I mean, we make a a living bread and butter out of technology. You know, we code, we use technologies, we service on technologies, but there was no effort from GTech at that point of time about nurturing technological talents or giving enough training to people, or at least give them exposure towards the new age technologies, right? So that is when Deepu came to me and said that let's start something. So we were thinking about these focus groups, and we divided the GTech activities into 4 different focus groups. One of which was technology, the other one was business development. The third was, we called it collective bargaining. That is, you go to an apartment and ask for a better price because you are a big bunch of people who are buying it together. And the fourth one was a CSR. You'll go and do work with the community, because the 4 pillars that you have. Deepu took charge as the GTech Technology Focus Group leader. And he actually conducted quite a few events. And at some point of time, this got translated or reformatted into what is called Fireport 80. And I still remember the launching of Fireport 80. He had that skateboard, hoverboard, yeah. So he came, I was sitting in my office, and he came in a hoverboard and said that, I'm launching Fireport 80. It's going to be the new version of the technological thing. And that is how Fireport 80 started. And then NASSCOM eventually got associated with it. From early days or a little later? 40th or 45th edition, NASSCOM got associated with it. Now, it has got transitioned itself into something that people take pride in presenting. The advantage is that some of the extremely good technological people in this community, that is within the Technopark and the Infopark community, says that, what? I'm presenting in Fireport 80. And it's a big thing. They carry it in their resumes, I think. So what started as a small technology grouping eventually got translated, reformatted, and became what is probably one of the biggest tech communities in this entire ecosystem. And that community is what will drive innovation. That community is what will help people when there is a flood, or if you want to create a resilient Kerala or something like that. And what I would like to actually point out is that importance of creating such communities which work pro bono based on their passion towards technology or implementation, so that better things get done, right? That is what has happened over years with Fireport 80. I would like to congratulate Deepu and every single person. There are a lot of people who have come and gone, a lot of floating population. But one thing that I've noticed about this entire community is that, so I went to Finland. There was a guy, who was part of this, and he actually took me around and said that, I'll take care of you for the next 2 days, right? So even though it is a tech community, it eventually becomes like a global fraternity which you can rely on when you're in another country or a place that you have no relatives or friends. I mean, there are no relatives and friends, right? So thank you and congratulations to Deepu and the entire set of people who became part of this journey in creating such a vibrant and powerful community. Let's give a big round of applause for everybody. I'm sure there are a lot of people watching live, and let's bring our appreciation towards each and every one of them who has become part of this. Now, coming on to the current new age scenario, I'm not a big believer of giving out gyan to people because I don't have much. So I usually try to engage with the crowd and try to understand from people who have gathered here. And I'm told that there is a lot of HR managers and HR folks in this crowd. I'm sure there are some technical people also. But I would like to open the floor, and probably I'll just take 5-10 minutes just to understand from you about what your thinking is in terms of some of these new technologies. I'll just shoot a question. Which of the technologies do you think has tremendously changed life in the last 1 year? Everybody has only one, one mantra. Anything else? ChatGPT, is, of course, yeah. Anybody? Anything else? Huh? Electric vehicles. ChatGPT ആയിട്ട് compare ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ ഒരു no effect. I don't know. I'm just saying that in people's mind, it is ChatGPT. So how do you ChatGPT is going to change the world? You said ChatGPT. Why don't you say that? How is it going to change your life? You have the mic, I think. You can. Does it work? Oh my God. ഒരു സ്വിച്ച് ഉണ്ടോ അവിടെ അതിൻ്റെ താഴെ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നില്ല ഓക്കെ ഫൈൻ വിൽ പാസ് അറൗണ്ട് ഫൈൻ So for all
Hello.
questions that you have answered,
Yeah, most
has
of,
answered.
yeah, not most, all the questions that we've asked, it is answered like a human.
Okay. Did Google used to do that? No.
Google, we need to choose our answers. Here, you get ready-made answers, even emails.
Okay. So let's park that thought for a moment, and then we'll come back to it. Anything else? Anybody has? I ask a question, I get the answer. It is much easier and simpler to use. Is there any other place where it might replace people, or what are the areas in which ChatGPT could be of help? Transactional jobs. What an example? How will it do that? Right. Okay, I am not very clear on that use case, but I'll come back to that. Okay, so somebody said that I can ask any question and it'll answer. Wow, wonderful, right? She says that it's a note maker. We have a meeting, and usually somebody sits and writes the minutes, or somebody translates it and transcribes it. But now ChatGPT is going to do it for me. Any other use cases? ChatGPT or the other OpenAI tool here? Right. So you can actually create videos from a textual content that you give. What I've seen is, I've seen images coming out of it. I haven't seen videos coming out of it. I've asked OpenAI, not ChatGPT per se, but OpenAI to give me a picture of a room full of Indian people or people having a technical discussion. And it'll, not a clip art, but very close to an image. It will generate something like that. So you can create, let's say, movies, images for your presentation, etc., etc. Minutes of the meeting, question answering, image and video creation. Anything else? But these are all except this one. Both these are generic use cases, right? I want to hear specific use cases, which is I don't need somebody to sit and write the minutes. Similarly, is there any other use case that you can think about?
If you're renewing a particular insurance and let's say a customer wants to do that,
Hmm.
currently what happens is we are dependent on people to do the comparison and see where the changes are happening, what's the financial changes that are required, etc. With the right interface, the content can be compared with the existing policy, if there are any changes that are being done in the renewals or in the modifications that are done, if there is a financial implication, all of that can be done intelligently and converted into a final invoice or a finalized document. It's there are people who are already at work on this.
There are people. I mean, I'm not aware of it. From the ChatGPT that I've seen, I find it a little difficult use case. You're talking about the actuarial valuation of a policy against the behavioral patterns or the spending patterns of the person in the last few years or last year, and reformatting your policy accordingly. Hmm. 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 Fantastic. Again, I'm not very aware of this usage. This is why I say I refrain from giving GAN, because I usually try to take GAN from people. But what I'm understanding here is that ChatGPT also has the ability to contextually understand a document and derive meanings out of it, which can be later used to create language and put as a document or an output document. That is what you. So it does natural language understanding. It does. Okay. It does natural language understanding. I didn't know that actually. Okay, fantastic. All right. Any other use case? They are using it. Which country are you talking about here? US. So that's that's something that I tried out for sure. I actually asked. I didn't, but ChatGPT. Maybe I'm talking about the wrong interface. I went to OpenAI. There is a code generator tool, and then I asked it to write a program, kind of like reverse a string and things like that. It did it for me very beautifully. So I think yes, with GitHub being fully acquired by Microsoft and OpenAI being fully invested into the $10 billion that is going into OpenAI from Microsoft, I think combining the GitHub repository along with the OpenAI models or the language models is going to definitely create a lot of coding automation, which might disrupt the zero code platforms that is being developed right now. There is probably 10,000 companies that are working on developing low code platforms for very specific industries, and it might disrupt that entire. It might disrupt marketing, digital marketing. Absolutely, because yeah, you don't need, you can have a script written on top of it and connect it to your LinkedIn and use your APIs and get posts that are going in on a regular basis into your LinkedIn feeds or Facebook feed. Anything else? You name? Yes. Exactly. That's what I was about to get to. That is one area that I'm really worried about, because marketing is generally about creating a difference, right? So people do all kinds of stuff. I mean, if you look at the fake news or the news, as we call it, there is always this clickbait thing that people do, wherein you're you know incentivized to go and click. There is a gossip or something else, or a picture, or then it is a clickbait mechanism that you're using, and you refrain from clicking from it, right? So how do you make sure that the creativity is blended into ChatGPT so that it becomes a little different for you than from the rest of the others? Because I use Canva. I put something that I've produced on Canva on a Facebook or a LinkedIn. People ask, "Oh, is this Canva generated?" I've seen this somewhere. Is this Canva generated, right? So similarly, I think if people say, "Oh, this looks like it's an OpenAI generated," professors are going to say, "Oh, you know what? This assignment is OpenAI generated. Okay, so we can't give you the grades." Then what happens? And how do you see that happening? I mean, the point that I'm trying to make is, let's look at any of these, like movie making, images, question answering. I have a specific problem. I'll tell you what. I'll give you an example about what I did. But how do you push intelligence to the next level? What do you foresee happening? Mhm. Right. Hmm. Oh, shall I just say mediocrity will just suffer? Yeah, it's going to wipe out mediocrity. I think as a country, I was listening to Arun's presentation in that departmental workshop. Britishers were good researchers. They had the Cambridge and the Oxford, but they created another system of education in India, which actually only created, you know, the clerks or the accountants or the, that sort of civil servants, as they call it, right? But they never created people who went beyond that level and created something for the world. But I think you're right. I kind of subscribe to that idea that it will push you to the next level wherein your intelligence will be challenged and you cannot remain mediocre anymore. You will have to continue. You need to learn to do things. When I say that I use Canva to design something, Canva is going to be ordinary. Either I'll have to hire a very good designer to give me something extraordinary that will stand above what the ChatGPT or the OpenAI is going to give me, or I'll have to upskill myself to get to that next level. I need to write better. I need to create new ways of reaching to people, create content to reach to people. That challenge is what is going to be faced by, I think, community at large, technical community, as well as creator community, as well as journalists, as well as legal. Every single community who deals with language is going to face with that challenge. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. I was actually surprised that no, that's not true. Yes. No. See, I disagree that AI will not understand language, because language at the end of the day is a bunch of tokens which has a meaning along with some grammar, right? So a programming language or a vernacular Malayalam or English or Kannada has got a certain grammar around it. The moment I'm able to figure out that grammar, I understand language. What I won't be able to understand is the acronyms like OMG or this new age things that keep on coming. But anything standard in terms of language, I think we will be. I mean, at least my experience. Again, all this is just gyan that is coming from multiple areas. It might be wrong, it might be right, but I want to still deliberate on it. But I know for a fact that you can understand language. AI can understand language. I don't know if ChatGPT can, which I haven't seen yet. Yeah, ChatGPT, I mean, for me, it has given me generation of language from content or metadata, as well as the structured or index content that has been stored from a lot of databases. It will give you answers. Coming back to you, are those answers right or wrong? Is a question that we'll have to ask ourselves every single time. You can't believe. And I'll tell you why, and I'll stop with this, because very many experts are going to speak after me, and they will get to the exact crux of the problem. But what I'm going to say is this. So ChatGPT was just coming out. This was like a few months back, three months back or something. So I was having a meeting with a few people, all PhDs and very, very smart guys. And I said, have you guys checked out ChatGPT? They said, no, what is that? Oh, by the way, it is around Huddle. So Huddle, what I did is, around December, I asked ChatGPT to write a poem about Huddle and Kerala Startup Mission. So it wrote a poem. I posted it in LinkedIn. So these guys were asking, you have nothing else. It looks like you have no work. I don't know the ChatGPT that has generated the poem. I'll show you a about yourself. Let's call him Dr. Menon. I said, write a paragraph write something about Dr. Menon, Alexander Pama. And it wrote a paragraph about the scientific institute, temper, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh my God, it is so. I said, you meant so right? Because it was so good. He felt so good. Machine is actually generating a paragraph which is like all gung-ho about you. Oh, such a great person, scientific temper. My point is that I haven't seen many negative things coming out. And Microsoft will refrain from doing it because Microsoft had a very, very bad experience in the past. If you go and Google, I don't remember the exact, but I think it has to do with Obama. You go back and search about that. They had a very, very, very bad experience about putting something very negative in one of their chatbots, right? So one thing that I've clearly noticed between ChatGPT and the old Microsoft AI is that the negative connotations about people, when it comes to sentiments, it remains positive and neutral. I don't know if any of you have seen anything far negative. It is learning. It is learning. Okay. So probably, I mean, that's what is happening. But when I was using it, I didn't see that happening. My appeal is that let's be a little careful about what we believe and what we not believe. That is all I will say. I'll stop here. I know that it was just a sporadic outburst. Somebody was asking me if I have a presentation. I didn't have a presentation, so I had to do something. So I thought I'll just. Yeah, next time around, I'll try, 10 minutes before I'll try to ask ChatGPT to make a presentation and come with that presentation. But this is a very relevant topic. As, people who are working in companies, HR managers, you will understand how your skill requirements are going to change in the years to come, how it is going to evolve, and why you need to be on the lookout. You cannot be mediocre. You cannot take 100 people, train them on Java, continue your business forever, right? That is not going to happen. So continuous skilling and upskilling is going to be the mantra, and Fireport 80 is the answer. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Anup, for starting a beautiful thread regarding ChatGPT. So next, Mr. Sunny Gupta is an accomplished engineering manager with Atlassian, one of the leading software companies in the world. His passion for coding started at the young age of 12, and since then, he has spent over a decade in the industry, working across various verticals such as e-commerce, SaaS, fashion tech, med tech, and media, among others. So here we have Mr. Sunny Gupta for the keynote.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. So, just like Mr. Anup, I also did not have a PPT to begin with today, but in the last 15 minutes, I was able to put together, some slides across the various topics I wanted to talk about. Right. So, thank you for the very kind introduction. I want to get started trying to understand the room a bit, right? So I know that it's a mix of attendees today, but how many of you all are students? I thought more of you all always said that we are lifelong learners. No? How many of you all are students? Right? All right. So, I believe in learning forever, right? And once I graduated out of college back in 2012, I realized now I have entered this rat race, right? I mean, most of us are doing that. We like to say a bunch of other things as well. But at the end of the day, to a great extent, if you do not focus on the learning aspects, you may end up just being a part of a rat race, right? So let me first talk about who I am. Let me go back to something that I'm really proud of, but which was pure luck, right? So who am I? I am a very lucky fellow. I'm one of the luckiest people. Hope I'm not jinxing it, but I say that because I have had a lot of black swan events, right? I've had opportunities that I don't know why, not knowing that computers or programming was going to be the future of making money, right? As a 12-year-old, I had no idea what would make money, or do I even need to make money, right? I mean, my father was going to give me money forever, right? But I don't know, curiosity took over. The first time we got a computer at our house, 2002, I was 12 years old. 2002, I was lucky enough that my dad was working at this company called Reliance, right? Today, there is Jio and everything, but Reliance is a family-run business, and one great thing they did was invest in their employees. They had budgets. They let their employees buy white goods, tax-free, etc. And so, a lot of parents across in that entire society bought computers. Like, acha, Pandeji, what are you buying? Oh, you know what? We're buying a computer. It will help my kid study or be updated with the times, etc. Right? Somebody, Sharma ji, what are you buying? Okay, we are also buying a computer. My kid wants to play games. So, that entire thing started happening, and everybody was buying computers. There's a computer now at my house, and I am this guy who is not good at playing games. So if I am playing multiplayer games with my friends, I'm going to lose, right? I am lucky that I was slow at that point, right? Because I was naturally pushed towards trying to do something creative that did not require a lot of, how do I put it? My mind did not have to be the sharpest. I could learn at my own pace. And, we got access to internet. Yes, again, yet another lucky thing, right? I saw Yahoo, and I was like, how is this happening? Like, there's just this telephone line that is connecting my computer, and I expect it to just be power. how is data, I mean, obviously I did not think data, but how is this image from today, from across the world coming into my computer? Curiosity led me to try and explore and build something of my own. There was this website called GeoCities. I don't know how many of you all have used, right? How many of you all know GeoCities? You're dating yourself. But yeah, I was that kid who came across GeoCities. I started building this small website for myself, and then eventually showed it to my parents. My dad enjoyed that his son has built something, and he showed it to his manager. And the manager said, "Why don't you build something for us?" I have a key takeaway for leaders out here. Make sure whatever talent you have, make sure you take out opportunities to let people in your organization showcase that. Make sure you create opportunities for interns across the various verticals you have. It's a small investment probably from your end. Sometimes it could even be free, right? It could be pro bono. But if you give those opportunities, people like me, slow people like me, have opportunities to come try something out. Maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't, right? But having that opportunity is really important. Students, on the other hand, you do not necessarily have to be super lucky today. You all have access to mobile computers, thanks to a bunch of initiatives. Government does it. I know NASCOM has a bunch of initiatives that lets people try and build things. Fireport 80, from what I'm hearing, right? I have seen so many interesting success stories come out of it, right? I've seen a bunch of the previous sessions that have happened. You all have an opportunity to learn from some of the best people. Uh, I did not have them. I had to open up phpbuddy.com. I had to open up pages. I don't even know how many of you all understand man pages today. But you all can just ask ChatGPT while you were asking. I was like, ChatGPT, just ask it to write some code. It will give you code that probably works. If it does, just some tweaks. And you have this executive assistant as a junior engineer today, right? In the form of that. What I'm trying to make sure you understand is, when I say I was this lucky fellow, I did have a lot of opportunities to play games. Luck was there. I had internet. I had a computer. I had, a decently good life where I did not have to struggle for things, right? I could just have lived on my life. And without that hard work, luck was shining through, and I couldn't have made it, right? Remember, if there are two key ingredients to success, this is for all the students out here, right? If there are two major ingredients, one is going to be luck, the other is going to be hard work. Luck is definitely not in your control, right? You cannot get chances at will, right? But when that chance appears, you are in control of how you perform at that time if you have worked hard. So if you continuously work hard and luck shines someday, you have the amalgamation of luck and hard work. Anybody following this through? Does this make sense, right? I mean, it took me a lot of time to understand this. I realized this much later. Like I said, right, I'm not trying to say that I am the smartest person who took hard work as a choice, right? But I was doing this. I was trying to study things. I was trying to do interesting things. I got some recognition from my parents, from my seniors and elders around me, and they were like, "Oh, Sunny is such a he's this computer geek." And I was not doing anything. I was not doing anything major. I'm not trying to say that I was this geek who was hacking around and stuff. I was doing small freelance projects, and they were just PSD to HTML. Like, somebody would send you a Photoshop file, you have to just convert it to HTML and CSS, right? But I was making some small amount of pocket money, and that was a big thing. I think I've used PayPal before even I knew who Elon Musk was. A lot of people eventually today realize that, hey, you know what? Oh, this guy made PayPal, and yeah, PayPal is something, etc. Right? So yeah, that's who I am. I do want to make sure you all understand that you all are lucky enough today mix it with some amount of hard work. Hard work today is also easy to get, do. Go on Twitter, create an account, engage with Tech Twitter. I host Tech Twitter spaces almost on a, I guess, daily basis, right? We talk to students, we talk to mentors, leaders from the industry, and we try and understand the pulse of what's happening, and everybody is scared. Sir, we are graduating next year, but it looks like we made the wrong decision of choosing computer science. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, I hear all of these things and I'm like, first of all, relax. Has anybody here seen this cartoon called Jetsons? Jetsons, it was a futuristic sci-fi society shown inside. Just like the Flintstones used to show a really old world. The Jetsons shows a completely utopian world where, spaceships, flying cars are around, and you have a lot of buildings like Sears Towers, and a bunch of, like, you stand in one place, you want to go there, a tube will appear, it will take you, teleport you elsewhere, etc. Right? How many of you all think we will someday reach such a society? We will have flying cars. How many of you think we will actually get that someday? Right? How close are we to that? Anybody? How close are we to that? I think we are, in my opinion, I think we are far away from a world like that. Right? In all honesty, and I hope I am wrong, and I hope it's 2 years and 5 years, right? But the way I am looking at the world, we are far away from a utopian world where technology or digitization or automation has taken over every aspect of our lives. And to reach to that place, you need ChatGPT and Copilot to take up the easy task of writing code. You need to be able to think the solution, let somebody else write your code. Don't be afraid of these things. You have to embrace them, understanding what it provides, right? Also remember that when Bootstrap came, a lot of people were thinking, oh, now HTML, CSS designers, this kid who used to do PhD to HTML, right? This kid will be like, now everybody will create their own websites, right? But that's not the case. Long back when this small framework like Bootstrap came out, everybody started building websites that were built using Bootstrap, and all the websites we visited, do you use Bootstrap? And when you were talking about the previous cases, I was like, bhai, exactly, this is what keeps happening, right? And so you will see there is a pattern, then you need something else, then you need something else. Do you need to upskill yourself? Yes. Are we probably going to eradicate mediocrity? I mean, that's a very ambitious target in my opinion. But are we going to get better at making our people accountable for what they end up doing during those hours? Definitely yes. And an increase in developer productivity is going to be good for all of us. Maybe we accelerate the journey towards that utopian world, right? So I'll move on to the next slide. I wanted to kind of touch upon a couple of things. This look before you leap is something that I want to talk about to the students. A lot of times we end up just picking things up and trying to, hack around with it without actually understanding things from the inside, right? And all I ask you to do is look up, read the official documentation, especially for technology. Try and read the official documentation, the first page of it. Try and understand why this was built. What is the problem it solves? And then you will probably not ask questions like Deepu and I were talking today, and we remember there are questions like some people end up coming and asking, hey, what's the difference between jQuery and React? I mean, should you be even comparing those? jQuery was probably something else, right? Yes, both are evolved out of like both are trying to ease the lives of JavaScript developers, but jQuery was a cross-browser solution built for some things. React is a, it will help you avoid boilerplate. There is repetitive tasks that you take care of, etc. Right? I want developers and students to make sure they spend some time trying to understand what they are using to build things. And when you do that, you end up being better. you need to ask why 5 times at least whenever you get started with a new technology. I'm not saying every day, everything you keep asking 5 whys, but whenever you come across React, why do we use it? Oh, it makes our lives easier. Why do we need to make our lives easier? What is making it difficult? Oh, you know what? You end up writing the same piece of code every time. Which code specifically are we talking about? Oh, you know what? We end up comparing versions of the previous screen to the current screen, and we identify, etc. Why do we need to? If you go deep 5 times, you will come at the core of a problem that says, hey, you know what? This will help you achieve performance. A lot of you all understand React will help you achieve performance. How does it do that? Why does it do it? Is something I want students to start understanding. And at least the folks who are here today, I know you all are connected to some really great mentors, right? Make sure if you are unable to figure these things out, ask. Make sure you ask around to all these smart people around you. Otherwise, you end up being the same cog in the wheel and the same mindset that you were talking about. I mean, can you become a servant easily? Yes. You know, just another person sitting and getting some stuff done. Yes, you can do that. But uh, if you start being curious, right, innately curious, you will end up, you know, being probably the best version of yourself, right? Ask, don't preach. Again, you know, make sure that you're trying to understand. On platforms like Twitter, etc., on Quora, etc., there are two types of people. One is some people who will be like, all right, somebody has posted this. This makes sense to me. I want to understand this better. And the same person will see something negative or this doesn't make sense. They're like, all right, it's okay. Like, I'll ignore it. There is another class of people, right, on the internet. I tend to avoid them, and you know, they're called trolls. So I'll tell you this: it's very, very yeah, attractive to kind of, you know, try and become a troll. Oh, you know what? I put that person down. You know, this person is wrong on the internet. I want to prove this person wrong. Stop focusing on those things. Make sure you're learning things for yourself. Make sure you're growing, and keep that positive attitude, because there is negativity life is going to throw at you. Make sure you're focusing on that positive notion, especially when you go to platforms like Twitter. And when I'm recommending you to go to Twitter, Stack Overflow, Quora, Discord, communities like, make sure you only focus on the positives, right? And not in the sense that ChatGPT does it, but understand that areas where, you know, you see commotion, etc., it's okay to stand on a bike and see two people fighting. No point, right? Go along your journey and make sure you're focusing on growing yourself, right? Surround yourself with smartest people. I think most of you all who are here are either already in Fireport 80, the server itself, MuLearn, a bunch of these interesting places, right? Just make sure you utilize them, talk to them more often, and yeah. How to be a better engineer before you join the industry? I think I've touched upon this already. Make sure you ask questions. Make sure you try to understand why you're doing something, and make sure you build projects using things you've learned. Do not only do theory stuff, right? Whenever you've seen a YouTube tutorial, right? A lot of students open up YouTube tutorials and try to implement the same thing on the side, right? It's a good way to get started with probably a new technology that you're not compatible with. After having done that, do not try to put that on your resume and, you know, run for an interview. Try to build something yourself using the same learnings, and you're going to become a better engineer, right? How many of you all have a list of bookmarks or books you've bought and have never read? How many of you all are people who do this, right? I mean, take out some time. If at least one or two of you, 30-minute or a Saturday 30-minute calendar invite for themselves to say, you know what, let me go through at least one bookmark that I have made in the past. You know, I have a lot of them as well. Or maybe pick up one of those books. I think we are going to improve our lives significantly, because in this era, it is easy to hold data, and just because you think you have read, some people, right, how to how to become a better engineer, a thread. People don't look below this. They will bookmark it. Done. And they're like, okay, I know how to become a better engineer. I'll implement it someday, but I know that I have access to this resource, right? So with that, I think I will wrap it up. But I'll be around eventually during networking and would love to talk to a bunch of you all. Thank you.
Traverse through the journey and learnings. Thank you. Next, Jiku Jose, the founder of StoryBrain, the one which won the top spot in the Singularity University Global Impact Challenge and was incubated in Silicon Valley. The very passionate and excited soul on future technologies, I must say. Welcome, Jiku Jose. Let's discuss on the superpowers.
Hello. Anup actually started with a discussion on ChatGPT and similar technologies. I am actually trying to take a peek into what all we can actually do with generative AI. And I'm trying to make it as less technical as possible and going to do a very short one. In fact, I wanted to tell something that Deebu requested me while wanting to do this presentation. He wanted me to excite the audience with this presentation. I tried to do that, but while preparing it, I didn't find this very exciting, but a little scary. That's why I changed the name like this. And as opposed to both the previous speakers, I have a little negative sort of an angle on what is actually going to happen. I think that will sort of balance it out and actually give way to discussions. I'm not a very negative person or anything, but I'm just going to actually show another side of this whole thing. Let's start.
This is Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang Theory. Welcome to Evolve India, the 100th event of Port 80. Check out the generative AI talk from the guys at StoryBrain. It's pretty good. They discuss how I can render clips like this.
Obviously, what you saw is generated. One of my team members just sent this to me today morning and said, you should probably start with this. And initially, I didn't actually sleep very properly yesterday. And when I saw this, did actually Sheldon say something about Kerala? Then I saw this again and then realized, oh, this guy just created this, I think in a few minutes, I believe. So this is the world that we are going to live in. Whatever we see, whatever we read might not be true. And as Anup has recently mentioned, whatever you actually see or read, that might actually sound very authentic, might not be. And let's see what all is actually in store for us. ChatGPT is just the start. So I wanted to start at the very beginning, a very core concept that many of you might know, but I wanted to start here. So basically, technology progresses as S-curves. What it means is we have a slow growth where people will dismiss this saying, hey, I know this will not reach anywhere. And at some point, it will start a hockey stick growth. At that point, people will get so shocked at what is happening, and then it plateaus off. And then people will say that nothing big is going to happen from this. And the next S-curve starts. Every single technology that has grown exponentially, including processors, including AI, and everything takes this S-curve. So let's actually take a look at the AI S-curve. So AI actually started at around 1960s when handwriting recognition and voice recognition was being attempted. We really don't know at what point in the AI development we are in. We could be in the very beginning, We could be probably reaching the top. I don't know. But this is my perspective. I could be wrong. This is approximately where we are. From 1960 onwards, we have been making very, very small progresses, some useful, good. Nobody was excited. But around 4 to 5 years back, we started hearing certain things that were staggering. So this whole thing of this shocking hyped up things that came from AI started with something that was released by Google in 2017, Transformers. There was a paper that was released, all you need is attention. That is where it started. After that, in 2015, there was another company called OpenAI that started working with different AI things. They took up this idea and refined it, and they brought out GPT. The first one came back in 2019, and you know what happened last December when ChatGPT came out. Now, let me actually show you 4 interesting things that blew my mind when I actually started. All of this are using one or the other variation of GPT. Obviously, ChatGPT, it has been discussed. I'm not going into that. But have you heard of character.ai? Have anybody used it? Okay, I believe very few. If you haven't, I request you to go and check it out today itself. Because this actually shocked me to a point where I'll tell you a small story. My wife reads a lot of books. She's non-technical. She's like, when I talk about these crazy stuff, she's like, oh yeah, big deal. This will not work, and so on and so forth. So I showed her character AI. What it can do is, you can choose any popular celebrity. Let's say, you want to talk with Albert Einstein. You want to talk with a major actor. You want to talk with your favorite author. You just choose there and you start talking. So since my wife reads a lot of books, I asked her, choose your favorite author and try talking to her. So she said, I know these might be taken from articles and the responses will come like that, right? And I told, no, try it. She didn't listen. I forced her. I made her try this. And she talked to J.K. Rowling. The first question, she wanted to break my, my hype. So she asks the question, I know that, hey, how is your married life? Something like that. So the system responded, oh, I have a beautiful married life. My husband loves me, and so on and so forth. And she started laughing. This is crap, because she had a very bad married life. And I told, no, it can't be. It can't be wrong. She said, what is wrong with you tech people? It could go wrong. So I told her, ask her one more time. Like, are you sure? So she asked, no, I know that your married life is bad. You know what she responded? The system said, and she said, frankly, I don't want to talk about it. And the girl, my wife, who was actually, can you bring it back? Yeah. My wife, who was actually making fun of me, actually sat in the chair and started listening. What? And the model started responding. That was my first marriage. I don't want to talk about it, but since you insisted, this is what happened. He was very abusive. Actually, my wife got shocked and ended up talking with that model for the last 2 to 3 hours and started talking with different authors. And I said, what is wrong with you? This was what character AI can do. So I just want you to actually give it a try. Take your own personal experience to actually go and try it out. There are brilliant things that are actually happening in this space. Third one that I wanted to say is Copilot. Many people might have actually discussed about this, but I really want to, I'm guilty of this. Even though I am completely immersed in this tech, I didn't use this till like last few weeks. My team were using this for the last 6 months. Amal famously has been using this for the last 6 months, and he has been a paid user of this. And I said, why are you using this exactly? And he said, I don't code that much. You don't really understand this, right? Then I said, what do you mean? Then I checked up, recently I saw an article that says, people who are using Copilot, do you know how much percentage of Git code or the code that is committed is done by Copilot? Anybody, any idea? Any guesses? Any guesses? It is approximately 40%. It is staggering. I actually fell out of my chair actually thinking that 40% of the code that you are actually committing is actually done by Git Copilot if you are actually working on that. And the last one that I wanted to actually say, in case anybody doesn't know, is Codium. Codium is actually free. It's a competitor of GitHub Copilot. I request you to at least try GitHub Copilot or Codium. I'll just show you one example of how GitHub Copilot works. If you have integrated that into your browser, take a look at this. You don't know anything about programming. You write one comment on top. I want to validate a phone number. Then you start off the function saying validate phone. You require a very complicated regular expression that most people who have done this know. You copy it from somewhere and paste it over there. You don't have to do it anymore. This is one of the simplest things that you can do with it. What was possible with this, when I started using it, it blew my mind, and it still blows my mind. So I strongly suggest you to actually take a look at it. Now, this slide, specific slide I added in the morning because I happened to see a tweet about this. Take a look at the timeline and take a look at it closely. This is staggering. If you are not shocked by this, I don't think you actually understand what this is. BioGPT is a model that can ask or answer your questions about your physiology. You can talk to this system just like you're actually talking with a doctor or something like that. And the line that you see, that red line, is human performance. We crossed human performance approximately in December. No big deal, right? Now a doctor and this thing is similar. But do you know what actually happened on Jan 2023? That is 1 month from there. It actually became somewhere in the range of 81. Do you know what will happen in 1 year? The way at which this is progressing is staggering. So this is one of the things that I wanted to say. But somebody mentioned that, but still, this is not understanding language. And I completely agree with it. This is not AGI, not even close, or artificial general intelligence. What it does is just predicting the next word, but it does ridiculously good. That's all. It doesn't know, or it doesn't even have an idea of what fever is, what a thing is, nothing. It doesn't. But the point is, it has read it so many times that the next word, the probability of the next word is so good. That is how it works. So let's actually go into and shift gears into another class of models. We were talking about something called sequence generators, or temporal data generators, or AIs that are based on that. We are actually switching gears to something where it is processing a grid-based data or a two-dimensional data. So from here onwards, something similar to what happened in RNN or the previous GPT came about in these models. It is called diffusion models. And interestingly, 3 major competitors are actually in play for this specific thing. And I would like to say, my engineering director actually told something this September, I believe. He saw Stability AI and made a remark. Probably in a year, we will have excellent quality images wherein you can actually see a proper video coming out of this. And I said, not a year, probably 2 years, right? You know what happened? 3 weeks after that, somebody updated this model and we were generating images and videos with this. We can't, right now, even though I'm immersed in this, I can't actually process the breakneck pace at which this is progressing. This is staggering. That is the reason why I wanted to actually show some examples. So bear with me. The next few slides are going to be examples of the bleeding edge of this technology. So let's actually start with what is the state of things where you can actually generate 3D from image synthesis. What do you think? I believe somebody in this group might have actually known how to actually create 3D assets. You need to actually create something like a 3D model in a Blender or something like that. It takes days, if not hours, by an expert to create a 3D model. Take a look at what is happening here. By the way, this is real time. This is the state of the art right now. And it looks very bad, right? Most people will actually see the model is so bad it can't be used. But this is the first version. You saw what happened with the second version, third version of other things. And it will not require years. It may require months, but most probably it might require only weeks. I'm not sure whether you have heard of the channel 2-Minute Papers. There's an interesting thing that the speaker says, this is the law of papers. What will happen a few papers down? That is exactly the state of what is actually happening. So let's take a look at what is happening with voice cloning. I think exactly like Anish, he was actually speaking, the state of true data that is completely gone from our world. I will actually show you the effectiveness of this tech.
For you, not as an expert, but as a concerned citizen.
One of the 400,000 people who marched in the streets of New York on Sunday.
And the billions of others around the world who want to solve our climate crisis.
As an actor, I pretend for a living. I play fictitious characters, often solving fictitious problems.
I believe that mankind has looked at climate change in that same way, as if it were a fiction.
As if pretending that climate change wasn't real would somehow make it go away. But I think we all know better than that now.
So this is the sort of tech that we have right now. What you're going to see here and understand is no longer going to be something that you can trust. It's better to assume that everything that you are going to see is potentially manipulated by AI in some way or form. So now let's take a look at VR. I hope you have all heard of VR. What is interesting about this is VR required a lot of time and effort and money to create a virtual world. And obviously it is a very high-end tech. What can a generative model do with that? Take a look at what is done. Think about what you saw there. Whatever that you actually saw was something that was actually created in minutes. Think an experience like this would have taken a massive team months, if not years, to actually create. This sort of a thing can be on-demand generated right now. What it means is, imagine you have seen a movie and you really love the beautiful, beaches or the mountains over there. And you just took a few photos of that and you put it in the system and said that, hey, I want to go to that same place. But you know what? I don't want the trees over there. I want banana trees there. Fine. But I also want deers there. Fine. And I also need dolphins. Fine. Think about experiences like this. Every single person who you have actually dreamt about a place that might actually relate with you, probably from your past and so on and so forth. All those places you're going to visit at no cost. And the next one, this is very new, and I'm very passionate about this because this is completely open source. And I'm very happy to say that the guy who actually created this did this as a side project in a weekend. I repeat, he did this as a side project in a weekend. Take a look at this.
In this AI video, I'm using ControlNet to reskin this living room to different styles of Indian decor. On the left, you see the input, which is a 3D scan I made using photogrammetry, and on the right, you see the final output. Here are different ControlNet methods. The left uses edge detection, so it does really well with the paintings. The right uses depth, so it does really well with the furniture. As always, the best results are obtained when you combine these techniques together.
What these sort of a technique will actually provide us. Imagine you know a story that you really love, and you don't know the camera or you don't know expensive video editing tools that is required to create a movie. That will not be required any longer. Imagine you have a story that is beautiful, that you want to actually say, but you don't have the money, time, or effort to do it. In probably 1 year from now, that will not be the case. If you are a good storyteller, you will probably be able to make what you actually saw in your mind a reality. Now, one more thing, just to show you the significance of a commercial utilization of what we are actually seeing.
Now we're stuck on this stupid tower in the middle of nowhere. And I don't blame you, and now we're stuck on this stupid freaking tower in the middle of freaking nowhere. And it's all my fault.
Take
a look at this. You might have all seen a Tamil movie that was poorly dubbed in Malayalam, and you might have actually laughed. None of that is going to happen in the future. Create a movie, and it will be beautifully dubbed in every language in the world, probably into hundreds of languages, and your content will travel much more farther and wider. Now, there is very few information about this, but this is going to be a very important thing in our context. That's why I'm actually adding this. So Facebook's parent company Meta recently brought out a paper for something called tool former. This is very interesting, and this is going to be staggering. What it can do is, it is something similar to ChatGPT, but instead of it able to provide you generative text, it is able to do or make your tools work. For instance, think about this. You want to book an air ticket. You want to go to the site, log in, and then book the ticket, put in your credit card information, and then book it. Tool transformer at a point, just like you are asking for ChatGPT, hey, what do you think is the time of travel from, let's say, Trivandrum to Delhi? You could actually say, book me a ticket from Trivandrum to Delhi on 3rd or 4th at the cheapest cost, maybe when it lands in the morning. And it will actually choose you the best ticket that is possible, completely on your side. Now, I believe at least some of you who have a little bit of experience in programming might see where this is actually going. This is precisely hitting at the heart of RPA, robotic process automation. They have created systems where systems can be automated like this. Now, once something like this comes in, a huge amount of things can be automated instantly, completely decimating that industry. Let's see how that industry will cope up. So let's actually say this is something that Deepu last time mentioned. You shouldn't be saying this on stage, but I'm sorry, Deepu, I have to say this at least now. I said this last around for the 50th edition of FIRE also, but I am actually coming and saying this is serious. There are 1.4 million people working in BPOs in India right now. There are 4.2 million people working in BPOs all around the world. This industry is gone. If anybody thinks otherwise, I'm sorry, you are not living in reality. It's very serious. And if you actually take a count in Technopark, you are probably looking at around 10 to 15,000 people depending on this industry. It's a huge change that is going to happen. And we are going to face this reality very soon. Now, I'm going to give you some perspectives on what I feel. And this is going to be a little controversial, but it's fine. Debu, I don't think I can excite, but I can scare people. So I'm going to start off with that. So what I feel, what is actually happening at the AI right now is a Gutenberg moment. I believe you know what is Gutenberg, right? Gutenberg is the person who created the printing press, the first printing press. Do you know what exactly happened during that time? Somebody created printing press. So what, right? It happened in 1400s. In Europe, it actually created a religious/political movement that even caused wars, completely transformed Europe. The Reformation movement was actually the key thing that actually triggered it was this. The religion split, politics split, everything changed because of this. This is going to happen. This is the same sort of impact that is going to happen with ChatGPT and similar tech. So I'm going to be a little take a little bit of a hyperbole here. People will ask, so what? What exactly is going to happen? So I'm going to give you some very weird and out there thoughts or my fears on what is going to happen. There is a huge regulatory legal battle that is going to happen right now. Somebody mentioned about legal aspect of how this can actually be used. But do you know that the content that is used to train this, most of it came from open data sources, but not all. How do you attribute to the people who actually created it? How do you do that? This war is just going to start. Now, before going into the geopolitics, and that is a huge hyperbole, let me actually come to the industry. You saw a couple of industries that is going to be completely decimated. There is no way a person can actually hope to expect to doing BPO jobs 1 year from now. It's impossible. That's gone. Now, let me actually talk about the next one. My family told you shouldn't be talking about this in public, but I wanted to say, because this is an angle that we should actually think about. How can ChatGPT cause a war? How can the AI that is actually happening cause a war? Can anybody give me any ideas around this? I mean, real war with guns, people killing each other. This sort of a war. Can you think about it? I'm not talking about a rhetoric question, or I'm not talking about a mythical question here, actual war. Let me actually ask you this. Think about this for a moment. If ChatGPT was released on December 2nd, 2022, don't you think that tech was available for the biggest governments of our world at least 1 year before? Any questions, any doubts on that? No. What would they use it for? Do you think that they will ask it to generate a string reversal? Do you think that it will ask for generating marketing materials? Do you really think that it will be, they will ask, existential questions about it? I think they are going to ask certain questions that will fundamentally destabilize another country or a competitive country. Let me give you an example. I'm not naming any countries. I'm quite scared right now. So let's just say country A and country B. Okay. No, country P and country Q. Okay. So country P asks military GPT this question. List me 10 strategic points where I can hit the country Q economically so that you can destabilize their internal systems with minimum amount of capital and least amount of money or least chance of getting detected. Think about this. If it can capture, if you were ever shocked by what ChatGPT has ever done to you, think about an uncurtailed ChatGPT. I believe, as Mr. Ambika has mentioned and others mentioned, we are having a curtailed model. It will not cuss back at you. It will not tell you that that guy is bad. It will just say, I'm sorry, that is very sensitive to answer, right? But that is not the reality. Think about an uncurtailed model that will answer questions right in front of you. No, you are an idiot. This is not how it is done. This is how it is done. Think about a model like that. Think about a model like that giving you 25 different ways to attack the country Q economically, culturally, and politically without even firing a single bullet. Think about destabilizing a country. Think about, imagine now, assume the Q is a big company. It will finally understand, okay, this is what is happening. Think about a country Z, which doesn't have any technical background like this. Can you imagine the kind of harm that can actually be inflicted without even firing a single bullet? And this is what is happening right now. I think, I'm not giving you examples. Maybe if anybody is interested, we can actually. No, I'm a little scared now. And then after this, if anybody is interested, we'll come back and no, I'm really scared. I'm not joking. I'm really scared now. So I have been talking about this for a while now. I haven't introduced myself. My name is Jiku Jose, and I'm the CEO of StoryBrain. We are completely immersed into technologies like this, and we are working on a very specific technology right now. And I'll just introduce you in 2 slides what we do. So we are a company that converts product pages into video feeds. You have seen Amazon or Flipkart and so on and so forth. You end up reading a complete page. It takes 1 or 2 minutes. Once we integrate with these major companies, you're no longer going to read anything. You're going to see a feed just like Instagram and then click a button to buy. Let's actually take a look at this. This is your typical Amazon page that you see right now. You have some images, you have some information. Let's take a look at what our AI actually sees after scanning this and what it can actually bring about. It actually scans and finds the relevant information and then creates a video right off the bat. This solution is being discussed with the major retailers in India right now, and hopefully by the end of this year, at least 30% of all product pages that you're going to see, you will see a video like this. Let's see. So most people will be thinking, you said a lot of things. So what do we do? What can we do to actually defend, or what can we do right now? I have some perspectives. Probably it's going to be wrong, but hey, I'm anyway talking. I'll just give you some perspectives. So this is the first thing that I wanted all of you to acknowledge. Whatever we know, it's gone. The world as we know, it no longer exists. It's completely gone. We have to take a different perspective to understand what is actually happening. Second, don't worry, your jobs are never going to be taken by an AI, but it will definitely be taken by a person who is using an AI, for sure. So if you're not using it, you can assume what will happen. And the third one, this is what I feel is going to happen in the next 10 years. The world is going to ferociously align towards the curious. Last, I will stop with this quote by Freya Stark. Curiosity is the one thing invisible in nature. Thanks a lot for your time and attention. Bye-bye.
The awareness, or what all things we have in the industry, or what all things we have in our hand. So the next part will be the action, what to do next, okay? So we are familiar with Google Ads, Google search engine optimization techniques and everything. And all industry and the landscape is changing, and it has a potential to change our industry also. So we have Amrit Sanjay from Google for our next session, and regarding our talent farming, about the talent finding and farming. We have Anish, and also we have Rajiv Sebastian for the next sessions. So we have a small tea break now. That is, we all get back at, it'll be like 10 minutes, right? 15 minutes. So we'll restart the session at 5:45, exactly at 5:45. So everyone, we have a small chai break. Is also one of the founders of BLR Droid, one of the largest and oldest Android communities in the world. So without getting any delayed, I'm welcome Amrit Sanjeev on the stage.
Thank you for the lovely introduction. I have the clicker? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, sure. I know it's late in the evening. This is not going to be a very technical session. I come from a technical background, but I'm not going to talk much about technology today here. The whole idea is to kind of see where changes will come with these sort of technology coming in, which GPTs, the transformers coming in, you have certain changes in the workspace that comes in. And I want to kind of touch upon some of those aspects. Yeah, basically I got a lovely introduction, but yeah, I lead the developer relations team. I'm the head of developer relations for Android platform. I primarily focus on Android security, authentication identity, along with some areas like language, localization, and backup and restore, and a few other areas of that. And here today, I'm not going to speak about Google's perspective. So this is my personal thoughts. So this is not Google's narrative, so don't quote me anywhere with that. So I'm going to be sharing only a personal thoughts about what I feel the space will actually evolve in. And again, I'm not an authority on the space. So again, some things should be taken with a pinch of salt. I'm sharing my perspectives here. And I am not going to do any doomsday predictions. Okay, we can go this way, but I'd like to stick to being a little bit on the cautiously optimistic side of things. Because yes, many speakers before me told us about the changes that will come and how it might negatively impact our work. I feel it's just an evolution of work, and there will be impact. That's for sure. There's no denial of that. But I don't want to talk about this extreme of it. So this is not what I want to touch upon. I want to kind of talk more a place where this is converging together, how we can actually work together with these systems, and see where how things will change for us. Most of the narrative, and this is a very interesting narrative to talk about, it catches the eye all the time. So people always compare. It's about egg machines against us. That's like saying the car against the driver. If you want to think about it that way, yes, the machines are always against us. Cars cause accidents. If you were walking, you might not get into a 40 mile an hour accident. Yes, that's true, but it also brings in advantages, right? So I want to kind of touch upon the world, not that this doesn't exist. So I'm not into that. I'm not trying to give a perspective that everything is a bed of roses or anything. This does exist at certain points. If you can take this narrative you want, but I want to kind of touch upon today a space where we are working together. So if you look at search, for example, and that's where I want to start with, and maybe a few examples of what I've tried in generative AI space. Search, for example, was basically you were getting a bunch of data. You were asking for some data. You put in a search query, you get a bunch of websites or links that you can go and look at data. Now from that, you form information. And so you apply a layer, which is basically the transformer, which is your brain today, which is actually converting all that data into some information, and then you kind of use it at your work. Then over a period of time, you get some experiential data along with that. So again, your brain works as another layer and creates wisdom out of that. A lot of times, people actually with a lot of experience, a lot of deep knowledge at a certain spaces is able to kind of create that wisdom layer of information and then share with people. The last layer, let's leave. What these generative AIs is basically doing today is that they are actually giving you the information straight off. They're generating that data and then sharing that information with you. This means the way we'll actually, doesn't mean that you go and jump in and use that thing. You need the skills to verify. Because today, how most of us are trained over the years with just search is we integrate this verification mechanism throughout building the intelligence. So as you go from the data to intelligence, you're verifying all the time at short intervals in short loops, and that's how you get to a decent intelligent outcome. It could be right or wrong, but yes, that's what you generate out of it. Whereas here, you're getting the output first, and then you got to verify. So a lot of times that verification step becomes important. It's not going to take developers work out, but your developer will be verifying a lot of code more than actually writing about it. I'll give you my example. The other day, I was actually writing a class. I wrote a test class, which basically was about some image manipulation code. 5 functions, took me about 15 minutes to write. I was kind of okay with it. I gave it to one of the generative things. We have an internal system for it, Bard at Google, and then there's also ChatGPT. So I gave it to a couple of these, asked it to optimize. It wrote an optimal code for me. From what I had written, it rewrote some parts of it. I asked it, why did you write it this way? It explained beautifully why that happened. The next step I did was, okay, write me the Java code for this. It wrote beautiful comments for all the classes in Java doc format. Then I said, write all the unit test cases for this. It wrote the unit test case for me. This is something that would have taken me another 20 minutes or an hour to do. And it was goddamn boring to write comments on a class that you've just written. This is the sort of automation that you should be using to kind of make things a lot faster. This is the evolution. Earlier, somebody would be sitting and typing in, which means you ask somebody to do a piece of work. They're going to give you an estimate, which is like, say, X days. Now, that X days is slashed to maybe 1 day because these systems can help you do it. Yes, you still have to verify every single bit of output that is there so that things are legit. It can get things wrong. I have seen optimization of code, optimized code generating different outcomes. So it is not optimized correctly. The outcome was incorrect. Sometimes it misinterprets your intention of a function. It writes wrong comments for it. So that does happen. At least in my case, it was roughly less than 2%, which was something I can bear with because with a human verifying it, I think 2% is good enough error rate where I can catch it with this much of savings of time before that. So that's where we need to kind of think about it. This is all about evolving how we work than it just completely removing us from the equation. So for immediate perceivable impact, one is you're going to get a new paradigm of how you interact with a computer. Earlier, you were going to put in a few words. You're going to get a set of links. You're going to convert. You're going to read many of that. Take pieces of information together, stitch it up in your head, and you create some information out of that, from that data. Here, you are going to change away from that sort of explicit commands to kind of ask things. Okay, I want all the files that was actually edited in the last 48 hours on this machine in this folder. Today, you need to know a set of commands to do that. Tomorrow, you can just talk to it. And that will happen, which means that the ability to do certain tasks and the entry barrier certainly comes down. This is positive. A person who does not know how to type, does not have literacy, can talk to the computer. And these models can understand different languages. It doesn't need to be English only. There are languages, I mean, we've trained out in Spanish and other languages. I've seen models which work on that beautifully well. So you can actually, imagine you coming to a kiosk and you don't know how to type. You can just talk to it and it actually does the work for you. So these sort of enhancements also comes around. It mimics human-to-human interaction, which makes it a lot more confident. Yes, there is a catch here. If it's doing the wrong thing, you're going to trust it for doing the wrong thing. So that's why you've got to be a little careful about it, but it does mimic human interaction and it makes it very personalized. It's intuitive and it becomes very, very personalized. If you actually if you take a history of any of these chat generative systems, you can actually start typing the next sentence with the context of the first sentence or the whole chat. You can say that, oh, I want the best ticket to go to Delhi. From there, I want to go to Nagpur. What is the best mode of transport? Imagine I'm taking road. What are the best eateries in the place? If I'm eating at this place, where should I take the next? This is how we communicate to a person. This is how you can actually communicate to the machine also. And it will actually respond really quickly. Imagine typing all this. It's going to take so much more time than if you just had to type it on your keyboard, on your phones, which are small cramped keyboards. It's going to take so much time. So that's another place where Siri, Google Assistant, Alexa, and all are slightly bringing that to your doorstep today, where it could be a lot more intuitive and a lot more useful with these sort of models there. Next one is where are business opportunities coming in? So you have these really large models. So these are areas in which there will be new work that will be generated. There will be research in creating these models. One of the biggest things that we have not touched yet is that the reason why some of these things are not mainstream today is because it's exorbitantly expensive to run. They are not tuned to run at commercial space because it's just expensive in terms of energy, in terms of compute power, in terms of how much heat it generates. Is this crazy amount of compute that's needed to do all this. That's why ChatGPT is not, or any of the system like that, which is already out there in the market, is not integrating into a search today. Not because the technology is not there. It's just as exorbitantly expensive to run that operation like that. So that is one aspect. So you can actually give these models, make them more efficient, create hardware that will actually make it more efficient. Create transformers is a 5-year-old technology. The paper was in 2017. And from then to now, people are not just working on applications. There's a set of people who are in research who wrote the first transformers system. Right? They are actually evolving it further with these constraints in mind. So there'll be new things that will come which will improve the capability. That will bring it down to devices. You can't run a you might be able to run it on a mobile hardware later. So there are multiple constraints on which research is happening. So that's an area of space. You can offer this as a service, these models as a service. But another vertical where it will be really, really useful for many companies to kind of check in is, if you take the analogy of mobile, for example, Google and Apple created major OSs that got in the market. And we still continue to build those OSs and platforms. But there's a lot of companies that sprung up and created apps on these platforms and made a lot of money. So basically for all these verticals, these models need to be tuned to specific problems. That's not going to be done by the people who are building these models. They're going to be done by external people. That is an opportunity that somebody could actually jump into right now. You could create a model that works really well for medical space. You could make something that's really good for, say, image processing. There were some examples that were shown earlier about video generation, voice cloning, things like that, right? Now there will be multiple use cases like that which you can use and build solutions and make money out of that. And there's also capability integrating these into products. Your existing products working better because you have these capabilities around it. Simple thing, FedNeo, if you look at, that is actually Federal Bank having a chatbot which runs something similar to a generative AI model where you can talk to it. The chatbot doesn't just like, good morning, what is my balance, this is your balance. It doesn't work like that. It actually is like a conversation. You should try that system. It's actually developed by a company in Cochin, and Federal Bank uses that, and it's getting integrated to multiple banks right now because that's just what people want. You should be able to talk to it on multiple, it's an omni-channel system. You can talk to it in WhatsApp, or you can continue that chat on a browser, or you can take it to your phone and continue. So those sort of opportunities do come along with these sort of changes. And providing a lot of tailored experiences. That is really important. Today, you see that glimpse of it in your product search pages. You get your right products together, or these are the products you like, and it comes on your homepage first. What about that experience being really, really smart? It takes a lot more data, understands you, predicts your need, and then starts showing things to you. Search time reduces, your ability to kind of, or your purchase increases. You can use it for multiple things. Again, productivity. This is a space where developers definitely today can actually play with this. Like writing unit test cases, I know as a developer myself, I write code. A lot of developers don't like this. And most of the time, developers don't write unit test cases. They say, oh, the project has very little time for us to do that. Again, it's also kind of a boring task. It's not as challenging as writing the code itself. You can actually, today you can actually get these systems to write it for you completely documented to the T, and there is nothing else that you want to do. Just check, verify, check it in. So the one code review is the gap between you and checking that code in. And you can run those test cases immediately. So you can actually really improve. You can do things like predictive maintenance. A lot of cars actually have some small models like this, but it's not generative AI. I'm talking about general AI, but you have machines, you have IoT systems where you can actually predict where the maintenance would come, and then you can actually start looking for signals which will actually enable you to do this, and it can learn continuously. It's a loop-back system, it's a feedback system, right? So it can actually learn, react to your environment. So you deploy the model, it will actually keep learning your environment and start predicting things accordingly for you. So there are multiple places in which you can really start freeing up people's time to kind of do higher value tasks. Instead of your trained electrical engineer going in and looking at the reading of each sensor, what if the system told him exactly what sensor needs to be replaced and what is the life of the sensor, predicting it correctly? You're saving time to do higher value tasks, maybe design a better network. So that's the evolution that will happen. So some of those day-to-day tasks will definitely actually go ahead and change, but it will definitely help you also do a lot of decision-making better. It's going to give you insights. A lot of that can be things that you can use for good. Again, scientific progress. This is an area of research that I'm talking about. So basically, large data, usually research works with really large sets of data, and there's a lot of time required to analyze and come up with positive and negative parts of it, and have multiple theories we created, simulated. A lot of times simulations are I've been a researcher myself, so I know writing simulations itself is a really tedious task, and then running simulations are usually not it takes quite a lot of time. So if you find a mistake in your simulator, it means really a lot of time lost. So those sort of things can be definitely used to help people speed up the technology moving further. So if you are able to run your tests, whatever it is, like it's not clean. I mean, there will be definitely, like if you take medicine, for example, the human trials will take the same amount of time. But the data coming back and the iteration of that data to actionable information could be like shortened out to a really small time. So there are points in which you can really actually change the length of time in which maybe new drugs are actually released or how information is spread to people. These are all the bright sides of things that I'm talking about. It could be used to spread wrong information also. I'm not going down there, but still. From a workforce perspective, right, workers will definitely need to kind of bring up new skills. They will have to work with these tools. One, have the capability to build. If you're a developer, you need to understand how these things work so that you can integrate that. You can come up with new use cases. You can come up with new experiences for, if it's a product, you want to bring that experience to users, right? So you really want to kind of be able to be skilling yourself up to analyze and understand these systems. And one thing about this is that you can't read one paper and understand this. This is a space which requires a good amount of technical understanding. As far as I've seen it, at least my journey on it has been like that, that there is a certain amount. You can't be like, start your AI journey on a Friday and be using that on a Monday very effectively and efficiently. If you're building something new, yes, you need to understand what these technologies are. Yes, there are libraries and new advancements coming there, which makes developers' life easy. But today, there is a certain amount of entry barrier to it. So scaling up is something that definitely workers will have to do. And which means companies providing that incentive to scale up, companies helping developers scale up correctly, finding the right stuff for it, giving the time for it, not dismissing that as something or not needed for us sort of attitude. So that's all going to be there. Collaborating with our AI systems, well, definitely you will have to integrate with many of these things. They don't operate like conventional code, and their outcomes can be different. So you really need to understand how you can integrate them. Like most of you guys, many of you might be using apps today. How many of these apps are integrated with either Siri or Google Assistant? There are APIs to do that, but why people are not doing it is because they haven't really explored those use cases and they haven't seen that. So here, yes, this integration points will actually start coming up to be more important and more relevant, where people will demand that sort of an experience. Today, if you say ChatGPT, if we are all talking about that, a GPT model, right? We have a ChatGPT or BART. Everybody wants it to be integrated to search today. Everybody wants that experience now, right? Because they've experienced it once. So they know that, yeah, that's an experience that they want now. Now, imagine you're a product company where your competitor has actually integrated this experience and you're behind. And your team is not capable of, or is not skilled enough, or is not exposed to the skills needed to kind of do this. Whose fault is it? It's not the team's fault. It's your fault not seeing that future in front. So it's about seeing some of these spaces and understanding what needs to be done. Continuous learning. I think this is something that we always talk about. I think the first speaker also mentioned about it. Sunny also mentioned about it. But what I mean here is this is not optional anymore. There are spaces that Rajiku was talking in the break about, spaces of people where they don't really learn a lot of new tech, but that's not going to be optional anymore. There will be continuous learning because things will evolve really fast. What you're using today is not going to be the set of things that are there tomorrow. We're talking about all these generative AI tools today because it's nice buzzword. But these are 5 or 6 year old systems. They're not designed yesterday. Like I said, Transformers are technology which was released 5 years back. The papers are 5 years back. They used it, perfected it, or kind of evolved it to kind of come up with a good product. Came up with one great use case. There could be hundreds of use cases like that are coming up. Now there's a wave, so a lot of products will come, and you will also need to kind of catch up with that time. So continuous is definitely going to be there. Focus on creativity and innovation. This is going to be very important because a part of the workforce is really just doing that minimum thing that they need to do, which is repetitive tasks, which have very little value but takes time. They continue to do that. Yes, they might not make a lot of progress, a lot of money and salary and all that, but still they continue to survive. With these sort of systems coming in place, those jobs are going to go away. Data entry, very difficult. Answering questions on a chat or via voice. in 2018, we actually displayed something. Google actually in I/O displayed something called Duplay, which is a two-way conversational AI, where you can talk to it, give it a task, and it'll actually do the task for you. I mean, if you have not seen that, check out 2000 Duplay demo in 2018 I/O, where it actually books a restaurant booking, and it spoke like a person to the other person. If you see it, it really, you cannot differentiate whether it's actually an assistant of a person calling or is it like a computer generating it. You just cannot make out the difference. It was that good in 18. Imagine how much it would be by now. Because these things evolve, like the hockey stick that Jiku was mentioning. This hockey stick is going to just keep going. It's not going to wait for you to catch up. So that's where you want to be developing new products and services, which actually is exploring business models capable of integrating these things together. Flexibility. Your jobs will change very often. Like, say, I started working close to about 20 years back. And at that time, it was like maybe a 5 to 6 years is when a technology revolution came and it changed. The mobile was the first thing about 8 years into my career, which it then made a big change. Then it just kept tumbling. Every now and then there's new things coming in. You got to relearn it all over again. If you take Android, for instance, okay, your native development, then Flutter came in, then Kotlin came in, then Compose came in, and it's just coming a shorter and shorter intervals for you to catch up. So evolving your jobs to adapt to some of these things. Some of your programmers will already be actually doing a little bit of data analysis already. If you're a backend developer, sometimes you would be doing a little bit of data analysis. So that whole point of he's a data analyst, I am the backend coder, I am the front-end developer, I am the designer, that will blur because there's going to be a lot of tools that will come which will help you move. Somebody's talking about it. If I'm just making something in Figma, why can't I code for me from that? Why should I actually not do that? I mean, do it automatically by myself. I mean, or why should I employ a developer to do it? Let it be automatic from there, right? These sort of systems are already there. So what happens, it blurs the difference between the designer. Now you can tell a system, hey, I want an interface which has 3 buttons, looks material and flat, and follows this material or flat theme, and uses these colors for this particular use case. And it will generate that UI for you. And you say, I want it in this sort of format, it will write it in that format. So you can actually train models to do all these things really easily. And this is not future, this is today or yesterday. Future is going to be even more complicated use cases. So that's the urgency at which we need to evolve and adapt. So from a company's perspective, and I think I'm going to keep time here. So from a company's perspective, you will have to recruit AI talent. You will have to make it important that you have that sort of an arsenal in your belt, because when the competition or your users demand, you will need to be able to evolve your products to that point. This is not going to be optional. Many times the experience of something which is integrating one of these systems, like you are using a lot of this in your day-to-day already. Google Maps, AI-powered tool. Your phone's battery management, both iPhone and Android, is AI-powered. It's an adaptive management system. How your screen is managed, automatic brightness detection. All these are small models which learn with time. There are umpteen models that are there on the phone. There's at least your call. Android has a feature where it will actually generate the packets that you're missing while you're having a conversation. Because see, if you're actually having a voice conversation, you can get breakages, right, where you miss voice. Android has a system that fills it by figuring out the first and second packet and says, oh, this is what it should be in the middle, and fills it for you, giving you a really clear conversation, end-to-end, even in a bad network. It actually removes all the background noise. You guys are all chatting here, humming. I mean, that'll create a hum if everybody chats here at the same time. I can take a phone call and my listener is not going to hear anything other than my voice. Already running on your devices for many years. So these sort of systems are already there. It's just that we sometimes have missed it or not taken it. So we need those sort of talent. So companies need to invest in hiring AI talent and also bringing in an AI-friendly culture. If you have an employee base right now, and if you're not investing in helping them understand, it doesn't mean that you have to give like 1 day off for you to study AI. No, that's not my intent. It doesn't work in that way. But you got to make it important for them to understand that, hey, this is a space that we should have an understanding of. It is good for you to evolve and understand this space. Because when it's not going to be like when the demand is there, you're going to be able to learn and do it in time. You need to be able to skill up the right way. So that's where one of the things would be important for a company. The other way is integrate into your operations. Like I said, code unit testing. Most of your companies would be doing it. Why don't you use one of these generative systems to create it for you and get somebody to verify? It's going to cut down your development cost by a really, really short period of time. Most companies were doing it all by the book. Not everybody does it, and not for every project, nobody does it. So you might be writing you might be documenting things. You might be writing code comments. You might be writing test cases. You might be sitting and having an optimization run of your code. All these things are done in companies, which actually extends the length of a project, right? So something that I experienced, something that could have taken me 3 or 4 hours of work, was done in like less than 3 or 4 minutes. And imagine in a project of a year long, 5 people working, how much time it's going to save. Most of the folks who are project managers or HRs will be able to really calculate that in terms of money. It's really easy to convince somebody to kind of do this. And it's not like you can't do it today. You can do it today. And the capability is already there. And in the next set of, I feel, in the next couple of months, you will have tools which will integrate into your studio or IntelliJ or whatever Visual Studio, which will allow you to automatically do this. Select a source, right-click, optimize, sends you the optimized code, replace or review, whatever. Buttons comes in automatically. Okay, write the test cases for this. Compare the test case against my previous code and current optimized code. What is the performance difference? Why is it optimized this way? All this is possible today. Internally, I've written a plugin for Studio which can do all these things automatically. It can't be released out, but internally, just a proof of concept. It's there, it's possible. We have a system called Bard, which only I have access to it. So that thing can do the same sort of work. It's also a generative AI, generative model, transform model. So it does the similar things. You can do it with OpenAI APIs today, or any other APIs that, whichever model suits you better, you could actually go ahead and build these tools. It's possible today. So getting it into your operations, automating many of these things, reducing this repetition of tasks. These are places where you're going to save a ton of money, literally a ton of money. And you can redeploy all these resources to something more valuable. Calendar booking. Have you seen Google Calendar? It automatically, if you say, I want to kind of get 15 minutes of focus time, not close to a meeting, and it can actually figure out a space in your calendar and find it for you. This is something a person actually, the assistant admin actually does it for you. If you have an admin, the admin actually does it for you. Can you block a time on Monday? The admin will go look at a calendar and say, oh, this time is there, but this time we have to go somewhere, so this is in private. All this, an AI can do it in no time. I can do it today. So that's where you want to kind of redeploy that resource to something more useful. Writing. You want to write your OKRs, or what your objectives, whatever you call it in your companies. Ask one of these systems and it'll write you beautiful objectives. And you just give it keywords. I wrote it as a test for my team. I wrote it as a test case and I showed it to my team and they didn't understand. They didn't see that. They didn't recognize it was written by AI. They said, okay, these are good. Have we missed this point? Okay, 1 or 2 points it did miss. That's the only comment that they had. 2-page document written in about 30-40 seconds for me to edit. For the next 15 minutes, my work is done. Me writing 2 pages 1 day. Because I have to keep all this in mind, right? What is the 1-year vision? What my team will put up. I have to keep in mind, but it does it beautifully well. So this gives you a head start in a lot of these sort of work items. So that's where you have to integrate into operations. Then again, developing products that will be driven with AI or services which are actually going to be where you can sell a service, AI service to somebody. So it's like you have cloud as a service, or if you have an AI module as a service. Somebody can actually rent it and then work with you on that. And this is a space where, yes, companies will have to invest. You can't leave it to the large companies only. A lot of these do not have the same ethical definitions that we have. We have to ensure and invest in making this being used responsibly. A lot of these things, we had examples that Jiku already told about, can be used incorrectly. Can be used for harming somebody. Yeah, you could say, how can I remove this person from, how can I get this person's followers on Instagram? How can I cyberbully this person? It will give you some answers if it is an unfiltered system. Today's systems won't do that, but because they're controlled by UI, controlled by certain laws, which are these ethical laws that we put in. But you could actually create something like that. So there should be some place where these ethics are actually codified and then put it into it, and you see that your systems are responsible in nature. So that's another place where investment needs to be actually put in. You will not be able to do this alone. Just don't have enough data. A lot of people don't have enough data to do this. When I said a lot of companies are going to work on the second layer of optimizing this for a vertical, rather than actually really pushing the boundary for this, where you're going to create large LLMs, which is like really large models, language models. And then if you're talking about GPT, whereas image processing and image video, there's always generation. There are more generative tools that could be there. And generation is just one part of AI. There are other fields on AI that could also be explored. Today, yes, generative AI is really cool. It looks nice, but areas to work, definitely hardware improvement. Many of you might not be working on hardware, but still, that's a key area. A lot of this is possible because we have TPUs right now. TPUs were not hardware that we had like many years back. We couldn't run it efficiently. Still, it's too expensive to run this right now. So we will be looking at models which are actually smaller, faster, more efficient. So those are all areas of research that can actually be done by any team. Or optimizing it for a vertical, that's definitely going to be a space where there's be killer applications coming out and companies really making a big amount of money in that. So yeah, so working together, collaborating with other AI startups, understanding and learning, because like this conference, you will have to learn from each other for sure. I mean, I've been a big community guy for many years. Like in my introduction, I mentioned about BLR Droid. That was the first Android community started in the country. We still have about 13 or 15,000 members in that. And we regularly run events, and it's been running for like 13 years or something now, 30 or 14 years now. So from a community perspective, I understand that I've learned a lot more from the community than I've learned myself alone. And when you have trouble, or when you want to kind of, if you look at my profile, you look at Go Stack Overflow and see, I've not asked many questions on Stack Overflow. The reason is not because I don't have questions to ask, it's because I know the guy who's an expert at that, or somebody else who's in my vicinity, who's a phone call away, because they are in the community that I actually have worked in. And they're not in my company, they could be in another company, but we all help each other. And that's how we learn. So working with other startups, exchanging ideas, those things are all really important. Even though it looks like you're exchanging secret sauce, no. Most probably your ideas, you're the only one vested in your ideas so much that you will put all the effort behind it. You just need to learn from each other. So that's another point that definitely people should be investing time into. I see that not happening much. Partnerships and collaborations happening not enough. Enough of that. I don't know. There could be many opportunities here. You should just open your eyes for that and see. There could be something that could become a better business for both sides. And lastly, you need to keep investing in governance policies. You really need to kind of do that part of it. AI is uncontrolled, is dangerous. It can lead to, it's not going to stop learning one thing. So you say, oh, it's as smart as me today, it's so good. Tomorrow morning, it's smarter. The next second is going to be even smarter. So you really need governance policies and how people will use this. You also need to ensure that access is not limited to only assume that there's an amazing system which will generate code for every, but it's only accessible by the company who built it. Nobody else will actually be able to touch that. But it needs all the code in the world. Access should not be limited like that. Certain things where it's general intelligence, which is actually, or general data that's taken and made, I think access should be provided to a lot more people, not restricted to just a few, which will tip the power really differently. Data is the new oil. We all hear that all the time, right? So if you actually have information that's only going to be available only for a few set of people, and that access cannot be, you can't take that access and even verify it, becomes really difficult. So that governance and access control is really required. And ways to control and manage bias. See, this is like a person. It will have bias based on the data it's given. One thing that everybody needs to understand, even in generative AI, it is not creating any revolutionary new thoughts. It's showing you information in different ways from what you have fed it. If you don't feed it anything, it cannot tell you anything. If you feed it garbage, it is going to give you back garbage. It's not going to be like, no. It's like a person. You take the conditions in a certain way, bias it by giving them completely polarized view of the world. That person's output about a certain situation will be that polarized. Same way it will happen for this. So controlling and managing bias is something that's there. It's just not controlling, it's also the fact that you need to understand bias. And that's actually going to be a really tricky problem to solve. Many companies invest a lot into doing this, and this is really, really important to do that if you're building systems like this. And lastly, verification processes. How do you verify all this data that's getting thrown out? It says, I have experience where I've asked you to write some code. It told me use a certain function and then do it. It was in Compose for Android. And I was like, oh shit, I knew Compose well, but I never knew about this function. How did I miss this? And when I looked back at the code base, we don't have that function. This guy just made up a function and told me just use it. And those sort of things do happen. There are mistakes that will come. So you need to have verification processes about this. It's not going to always spit out information. Don't give it any more weightage than you would give to somebody telling you perception about or perspective about something. So that verification processes have to be like really, really, really refined and defined, not just for people using it, when you're building it into products also. Is this actually going negative? There was an instance of, I don't know if it's a generative AI, but Microsoft had something on Twitter. And a day it started being very racist, negative, asked people to go kill themselves, uttered words it shouldn't, just because it learned from the people that talked to it. People were racist to it, it started throwing out racial slurs. So these things can happen. So you need control mechanism. And they had to shut it down at the end of 24 hours because it was giving so much of bad press. So there are things like that that can happen even with your product. Somebody could train it incorrectly. Somebody could make it do malicious things. So that's something that you want to be careful about. So that's also another area that you need to invest. I think that's all from me. That was my last. Yes, that was all the things that I had. I know I didn't, I was quick. There were 27 slides in 20 minutes, so I had to be fast. But there is any questions or any discussion that you want to have, I'll be around. And hopefully this was useful information. I was trying to say it slightly different perspective to the other speaker. So hopefully it gives you a more wider thought process to work with. Thank you.
Thank you, Amrit. That was really like a very different perspective. So next, we have Rajiv J. Sebastian, a programmer turned entrepreneur, Mr. Rajiv J. Sebastian, the CEO of Allokin Software Private Limited. Rajiv is a highly accomplished technologist and engineer who has been a leader of the early open source contribution movement in Kerala. A forward thinker, Rajiv has established a talent building program named Cocoon in his company, which is a really good example of talent farming. So, welcome, Raj.
Hello. Okay, it's fine. I'll use this. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. I got it. കുറച്ച് കൂടി പോയി അക്ഷയ. So yeah, I'm Rajiv. I'm CEO of Allokin Software. Techie. I'm going to talk a bit about obligatory AI stuff. I'm very pessimistic about all this AI. I don't think it's going to have the impact that the speakers before are having. Mainly because, and before I go any further, I'd like to ask all the people who are in management or HR, can you please stand up? Okay, thank you. And all the people who are not, like who are developers, can you please stand up? Developers. I assume that everybody else would be developers? No, so there are other people also who are not in management, HR, operations. So, okay, so about 70% people are in like operations. Very good. I was expecting that. The only reason I asked you to stand up is so that you can wake up. Something that AI cannot do. And, like techies, they are like, just like the AIs, you'll see that happening. They are in like echo chambers. Right now, they are generating things based on what human beings created. And the internet is going to be filled with junk. You see that in stable diffusion. You see that everywhere. And in a year, you're going to see that these AIs are going to start talking to each other and it's just going to produce more and more junk. that we'll not even understand what is truth. I mean, we are in Donald Trump, he told us that we are in the post-truth era. And it's the techies are taking us there. The last people who are supposed to do that, they are taking us there. I'm very pessimistic about, it's not, and also it's not a joke either, because we saw that in history, right? 1960s particle physics, where did it reach us? I mean, where is it? It's still stuck. 75 Nobel Prizes. Where are we? We are still stuck. Take AI, the huge dream of AI, 1970s. You can open the most fundamental book that everybody, I think, all developers who studied BTech engineering, IT, computer science, all of you have read Rich and Knight. The first chapter talks about it. It's a failure. It is really a failure. Generative AI is not generative AI, it's just generative algorithms. It's not the AI that was dreamed of, that we see in the movies, and so on. So I don't want to talk more about AI. I just said that because I'm a techie. But I want to talk more about the human element. And that's the topic I was given, talent filters. And before that, see, I have a problem. I got to control it here on my iPad and over there too. So I'm from Alokin Software. We do R&D, we do product development, and we offer certain kind of services. This is my profile. You can link with me on LinkedIn. And whatever feedback you have on my talk, because some of the things that I say, I hope that it will create questions, both about AI, but largely about human beings. And I hope that the 70% of people here who are in HR management, in operations, you guys know human beings better than the techies do. And you can see where are those gaps. Amrit kind of alluded to some of those things. I think there's a lot of space for human beings. I don't think the BPO industry is going anywhere. I mean, you know what? I'll tell you, call customer support. Call customer support. That is not getting replaced by AI. Okay, I can give you some examples of that too. So, HR in the age of, I was supposed to talk about HR. So HR in the age of, right? AI. I think, as I said, don't worry about it too much. Actually, you know what? You worry about it a little bit, because if what you guys are doing in your companies, if it can be replicated by a computer, then you're gone. But that's not going to be too much. I'll tell you, even development, you're going to see a lot of junk. I ran, just as you showed the validate phone number, I just sat there and ran on ChatGPT. I ran validate email address. It gave me a regex. Proper guys who know computer science here will know that the email address format cannot be fully validated by a regex. It is not capable of doing so. Regex can't do it. So it's going to give you wrong data, wrong information. And that's going to keep happening at scale. If you talk to your developers, they all validate email address with regex because they copied it from Stack Overflow. All that code is going to go in GitHub. And that's going to be read by the AIs. And they're going to spew that same stuff again and again. You're going to get low quality stuff. We are reaching singularity. I think Deepu is a singularity person, but that singularity is going to be filled with junk, garbage. You should all watch this movie called Idiocracy. Okay, very good movie. Talks about this stuff. But HR in the age of, right? So what is the role of HR? Some people think resources is a bad word. People should not be considered as resources. I take a slightly different view. We are also in the age of the Bhaktan. In the age of the Bhaktan, we should consider our team members to be like this. We should feed them good food. No, I'm not joking. It looks like a joke, but it's not. We should maintain them. These team members, smart guys, again, Amrit alluded to the very smart people. They're like, I'm not joking. It's a fact. Every joke has got an element of truth, but this is a fundamental truth. We have to take care of people. And that is something that HR is missing. And, as these jobs get automated away, what is left are people with really great capabilities. And they are going to be considered like stones or hammers and all. But you should think about them like cows, actually. I mean, the cow was actually a very sacred, I eat cow, so it's not a thing. But it's considered as a sacred animal, right? Mainly because it produces sustenance for us. It produces milk, and if you want good milk, and whom are you giving the milk? You're giving it to your baby. You have to produce good things. You can see when Saip also, Madaba is like, covering, they're taking care of us, dude. I mean, and leaders, you have to ensure that happens. They should not look at Indians as like, one of those sweatshops. And it's incumbent on management, HR to kind of, even the politicians are now taking that thing, now forming unions and all that stuff. Why? There's a reason for it. It's a difficult thing, right? So why is that? We should give them the necessary protection, mental support, right? But why? Because as companies, I think many of these people here from companies, it's because we should produce. And production of ideas, material, whatever, that is the basis of progress, basically. And when we produce, the nation and society grows. Why we produce? We produce things to make people houses and clothes and all that stuff, right? Fundamentally, that's what it is. And we got to keep doing that. Higher quality stuff. So HR is actually the engine of growth, is what I think. In the new age of AI or age of digital, it's been going on for a long time. And HR has to fundamentally rethink like what you guys do. I berate my HR people, in my company. Very sad, sorry to do that. But you have to think like what exactly you do and why. Why you got to do that? You got to do that for your team members, for the people in your company. You got to provide them better opportunities. You got to provide more growth and profits to the company. And you need to provide progress to society. And for team members, what they need stability, happiness, and opportunity, right? And telling them that AI, your job is going to go away, it's not a good thing. And for companies, stable teams are very important. Many companies, employment is now a revolving door. That's okay for certain types of companies, but if you want to have lasting progress for yourself, ethical behavior, you need to have stable teams. And that's very important to keep the bottom line too, because if you have a revolving door and your business is based on a revolving door, then you're basically wasting resources, training people again and again and again. And instead of building up, you're just building the bottom layer again and again and again. So I think that's very important to think about what you're doing and why. And for progress to happen in society, this engine of production needs to keep moving forward more reliably, more predictably. Only then we can plan for the future. If you cannot plan, and that's, by the way, that is why China is so great today. It's not that they become industrialized. It's because when they were villages, a man thought, yes, I'm going to make something run for 50 years. That is why today they are the industry or the factory of the world. And if we need to start thinking, what are we going to do in 100 years? It's very nice to say make in India and all these things. Let me ask you something. Can we really build a semiconductor factory in India? High scale, build every chip for the iPhone. Is it possible? It's not possible, because to run a company like that, you need at least 1,000 people who have 20 years experience managing the shop floor of a highly integrated chip factory. Where are you going to get 1,000 or 2,000 people like that? They're all in China. They're all Chinese people. They're not in India. You cannot build a factory like that. Not realistically, right? Okay, automation, things like that will work, but training, how do you think training is going to do that? You cannot just take some guy off the street and train him to be a VLSI engineer. It's not possible. The guy needs experience. Okay. So I'm going to come to my essential to achieving those aims, whether it is for team members, for companies, or for society. If you have to select the right people. Now, these management HR guys, what they do, they'll select like the best person. Best person means overqualified. Having too less qualification is bad. Having too much qualification, even worse. The guy is going to get sad in your job. He's going to get unhappy. And he's going to leave. And you are too dependent on him. You have to get the right person for whom the challenge is just right. It's very difficult, but we have to do it. HR has the responsibility of selecting the exact right person, not above, not below. Helping them grow, and through that achieve the aims of the company and ultimately aims of the country as well. So I'm just going to give some food for thought. I don't have it like so well thought out. Like I just prepared this like a couple of days ago. So we'll start with tests and exams. My favorite topic. How many of you have studied in a semester system? Semester-based system. Okay. All of you graduated now? Okay. How many of you, when did you study for the exam of your semester? One day before, right? You got maybe 70, 75% marks, something around that. And there are other people in your class who studied the whole semester and they got 80%. So then what was the value of that exam? Law of diminishing returns. You studied only before, one day before, that's enough to pass the exam. Such exams are not what we call as a diagnostic test. That is a test that will tell whether you're this or that. Exams are worthless actually, if you really look about it, think about it. And many of the top universities no longer have exams. They have abandoned the concept of an exam. And what about the people who fail the exam? They are the Mandan Muralis, right? But almost all the HRs over here and even the techies will say, actually, the people who fail the exam, supplees, there are two types of people. People like this on the left and the people on the right who are really good. Some of the best people I worked with had 20 supplees. What does that say about our tests and exams? And what does that say about companies who say, oh, you need minimum this much percent? How many people you're missing out? Oh yeah, of course, you're going to lose these people on the left, but you're losing those people on the right. And those are the people who can bring fundamentally better productivity, better work output than the other people who got 75 plus. Fundamentally better. As I said, some of the best people I've worked with are all people who had supplees. In fact, we in Alokin, we actually have a separate section. Does he have a supply? If he has many supplees, the HR will do a small test, intelligence test. And if they pass that, then I myself interview them. That's how it works. Okay, and that involves going to tea and all that stuff. But just on the side, let me ask one question. This is the thing about tests. Then there is one big, huge company, organization, that is selected based on only test. And you can see the performance of that organization, which is none other than our government. Government is based on tests and nothing other than tests. These people write the test 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years in a row. The people who get in have no idea about reality. They only know about their desk and 300 books. But anyway, let me go to the next topic. The other tool that HR has to select the right person is job description. And I know ChatGPT is going to revolutionize job description. Because, all the job descriptions in all the companies are exactly the same. So HR people are going to type Python engineer 2 years. ChatGPT is going to come back with the exact JD, which is going to be the exact same for every company. Okay, my advice or my suggestion, not advice, suggestion. I don't know the right answer for this. How exactly to do this? Don't put useless stuff into the job description, right? Keep it very small. Everybody wants to have expert Python programmer who has excellent communication skills, capable of architecting high performance applications, 10 by 10 English, and only 1 year of experience. Select the right people for the job at each level of your company. Whether AI is there or not, HR has to do that. And this has to be for any field, right? Any job. Select the right people, not too much up, not too much down. Understand where they are in their career, how you're going to help them, which comes to the second. Next one is history. It's super important for you to understand history. And this is one place where government has completely abdicated their responsibility to society. They have made 10th standard, 12th standard results as completely useless for the purpose of understanding how a person, what a person knows, are they capable for a job or not. Completely useless. In the beginning of Alokin, we would say, drop the engineering course. Actually, we would take like specific subjects like compiler design or something like that, like few different subjects were there. We would just look at those courses. Even if everything else is a supply, those few subjects we would take and we'd see, okay, does this guy know anything? The other thing was we would require a high level of performance at the 10th and 12th level. Now that is meaningless. Everybody has A+. Totally useless. So the whole investment that society has made into the education system has been completely wiped out. Like it's not negative. We are not trying to like degrade people by giving them low score or something. That is where HR has to kind of talk to society and say, hey, what we're trying to do is we're trying to give you guys the right job. Right? We don't want to give difficult jobs to people who can't do it. And we don't want to give easy job to people who can do much better. We are trying to do the right job. And for that, it's better to kind of get evaluated by your teachers, by your colleges and so on. Look at the history of the people who are applying. I mean, we can't change government. That's a different thing. But look at the history of the people who are applying. And what are those demonstrable characteristics that you can take? And now see, some of that is liable to cheating. So sometime back, one of the things that HR people used to do, they'd see, does this guy have a GitHub repo? Okay, and they'll check. People with GitHub repo, at that time, people with GitHub repo actually started writing code and they were using Git for that purpose. Nowadays, what I'm seeing is that the GitHub repo is there. You can see the repositories. You open the repositories, there's nothing in there. No code. Sometimes it is template code. HR has to start getting a bit more smarter. Like, what is this guy trying to do? I would really recommend HRs to take a small course in programming, not for programming's sake, but just to understand, like, because you will see the same code everywhere. And when you see it everywhere, this is not right. If all the HR and management in this room decide to not hire the people without demonstrable history, then automatically, what's going to happen? The whole of society, at least this industry, it will change. And to understand why that will happen, you just have to go through something called systems thinking. If you go through systems thinking, you'll understand why is it that if everybody here, or 75% of you, decide, just like GitHubs. When HR started looking at GitHub, people started creating GitHub. If you guys start demanding more, the students will also start producing more to get that job. Systems thinking. Compensation. You got to pay people. But then, one thing that HRs have to understand, and this also requires some design thinking, system thinking, because some of the actions of HR, and here I have only HR to blame, some of the actions of HR have led to untenable situations in our economy. Untenable. You have created a situation where either the base HR cost, that is cost of salaries, have to increase at least 10 to 30% every year, predictably and reliably. Or you have to lay off people to keep the cost the same. If you guys have some mathematical sense, you can just work it out in your head. Either the salary of the whole company has to increase by 30%, or we have to fire people who are making more or who are demanding more. And that is the reason for the layoffs. That is what happens. That's why there are cycles. It keeps on happening. He'll go up, hit that point, then layoff, again it'll go up. Who created it? Competition between HR. Because you guys think that money is the only thing that drives people. I don't know. Most of the HRs have studied, I hope, studied psychology, and you've heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Take those lessons. I'm very sure that people are open. They are not, people are intelligent, people are actually caring, especially the techie crowd. And when you try, if you can try to explain it to them, they're also very logical and rational as well. But they are also like people, they hear outside what's happening and they come and like they say the same thing. But if you can present it in a way that they can understand, they'll also figure it out. There are many ways to compensate people, many, many, many ways. And almost none of it requires expenditure of money. By the way, on the side, I got to say, many companies, when people leave their company, they'll say, and I'm also kind of guilty of this, oh, ഞങ്ങൾ കുറേ ട്രെയിനിങ് തന്നല്ലോ എന്നിട്ട് അവൻ പോയി. What training? What training? Let me tell you, these people, smart, especially smart people, wherever they go, they will learn. Wherever they will go, they will learn. There's nothing special that you guys are doing. There's nothing special. Come up with a special program. Give them a special program, and that's one way of compensating them. And so then, what's the possible solution? Again, this is all just food for thought, right? I'm not trying to prescribe anything here. I don't really know the solutions. We are in a new era of how things are going to settle down. I personally think the solution is something like this, Mulearn. I don't know how many of you know about Mulearn, but it's a very interesting movement that's happening in Kerala, which is trying to achieve some of these goals of creating a much more inclusive environment, skilling up people, bringing them into some kind of a structure, which is economical but keeps people happy. And I would invite, I don't want to talk too much about Mulearn, but I would invite all the companies to find out more about it and try to participate in it as well. And this will generally, it will raise the capabilities of our freshers and make it much more reasonable. The fact is that Mulearn is doing something that the government should actually be doing. So one thing that you guys can do as HRs, as company leaders, if you have any kind of influence, help them to get funding and acceptance at the highest levels. Deepu may not like what I have to say. Where is Deepu? Deepu may not like what I have to say. He may not agree with it. But I feel that Mulearn is having to do a lot of useless things just to keep that organization moving. If they could be freed from that, I think they can achieve quite a lot of things, because fundamentally they're different from other stuff that's happening. And last message, just a repetition of what I just said. If you are a Bhaktan who has got some acceptance in politics, then I would like to show you this image. Mulearn is nothing other than a Gurukulam. Nothing. It's from ancient India. It's a modern version of that. It's a modern version of the same thing, same concept. And if your political agenda or economic agenda, whatever, is to push ancient stuff, then you should think about supporting Mulearn. So it's the same thing. You can see Akshay is standing in the middle and helping people. All right. So sorry for taking so long. I think I spoke for like more than 20 minutes. Just a conclusion. Basically, see, one thing I feel is that not just AI, but largely like past 20 years, we are seeing HR is changing. HR, you should not look at yourself as the department that produces the leave approval sheet, compensation sheet, PF, ESI, the name badges. You know, you guys, HR and management, you are responsible for creating and maintaining the culture of a company and to maintain the dynamic productivity of the company. And that the only way to do that is really to see what is really required. You know, fundamentally what is required, what people want, and things that you should kind of redirect yourself to understanding what that is. Because also people are also changing. Like people are no longer cookie cutter people. You know, people have their own dreams, inspirations with globalization, or they're seeing other models. And you know, you will also have to be equally creative in order to keep your productivity. So thank you all for this. And remind you, I'm from Alokin, and this is my info. And I don't know, I don't know if you guys saw all the QR codes. That goes to my LinkedIn. You can link with me there. And if you disagree, only if you disagree. If you agree, I don't want to hear from you. If you disagree, you chat with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajiv. Actually, Rajiv is one of the key contributor of our Academia Technology Focus Group and Mueller. Thank you. Next, we have Anish Aravind, Mr. Renowned human resource professional with over 16 years of experience in manufacturing, FMCG, ITES, and IT industry segments. Mr. Aravind is also a seasoned Audi and HR consultant with over 8 years of experience in the field. Mr. Aravind is currently the co-founder and principal consultant at SS Consulting and has served as a secretary of the National Institute of Personnel Management from 2016 to 2021. He was recently recognized as one of the top 20 HR influencers in 2023 by ET's and ET HR World. Welcome, Aravind.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Okay, I think this is my first time in the last 2 years to come into a tech crowd, so really looking forward to the interactions. Thankfully, for the last 15 years, I've been into talent acquisition and working with techies. So whatever technicalities I could follow, thanks to all the speakers, was thanks to those times. Okay, the slides have to be up, so we will. We'll start off with a small story of my experiences after I became a consultant, because I mean, it will resonate with some of the aspects that were discussed about HR. So we just start off. By the time, can I get some help? Thank you. Okay, so the Indian IT industry has started around 25, 30 years back. Like that's when the boom happened. The however it started, Y2K problem and all the stuff, right? And the startup movement, and that's where most of my work happens in the last 5 years. And then, so my point is that now I get to work with CXOs who are, and majority of them are from IT SMEs. And where are these people coming from? They're all come from companies which have grown in the last 20, 25 years, and and there's a problem with that, which I face almost every day at times if it's and I'll explain the problem, and some of these things would get clear to you and why. And I am the whole part of my pitch is for talent farming. I'll try and connect to that as well. The problem is, let's say you have an IT company which is in the top 25 in the country. You work for that company for 10 years, 15 years, and this is the typical profile of a startup founder. Now, if your company has a system of people approaches, and the large companies in India have locations all across the country, like say 15, 20, 30, 40 locations. And if in your location, there is a policy that's been implemented wrongly, and you worked only in that location, and you've only seen that policy. And if you, in such group of 3 people from that company, from that location comes up and starts another firm, the why of that policy is not known. Like I heard folks saying that HR does the job description. Please do not relegate your job descriptions to HR. That's the doomsday prediction right there. The job description has to be written by the person who designs the job. And yeah, I do it for my HR folks, yes. So this is one of the trouble that I'm getting in when, my slides are still, should I come back there? All right, okay, good. Yeah, so this is, and I get to, so what happens is we start with why, okay? Why do we need this? Why do we need this whole part? So with that, let me get on to the context. There is the part of the slide, but I will get to the set a context for this whole. Yeah. So take your thoughts to the post-2000 era. And this is where the context, and thanks to all the speakers who've come before me, they've already helped me set this context. So whatever you're going to see here has already been explained well, so that will save a lot of my time. Now I'm introducing a word here. It's contributions. You'll get to hear this again and again in this talk. Now what I want to put a case is that contributions versus qualifications have become the real metrics for talent. And this is to any cause. It can be for profit. Whereas, like you earlier you said, no, where does this whole supply come from? Because you don't have qualification. That's your supply. So here, and we've established already that it is the contribution of the person or the talent that matters, and then it's okay. You don't care about the other part of it. So this is the first part. And in learning space, micro or bite-sized learning, there is a lot of possibilities to attain skills, not degrees or qualification, but skills. So I was talking to Jiku saying about, okay, videos. Where does videos come from? Where does stories come from? It's the way brain has, there's a neuroscience reason for it, and advancements in neuroscience. Okay, I've just brought this one along as we're going. Have you all seen this book or read this book? Can you see it? Anybody who's, I know Prasanna has, you can't see it. It's named Live Wired by David Eagleman. So the last decade or so, I've been very keenly interested in understanding what neurons do, and brain science separately and neuroscience separately. And I've stumbled upon, this is a 2020 June, this book came out around the pandemic, June, I guess. So it's an interesting part. It's called the ever-changing brain. So that is the latest update of the artificial intelligence. We saw all the drawbacks of artificial intelligence, whereas here we already are carrying a kind of an organ with us, which is ever changing, and that, like I think we had Sunny who mentioned, surround yourselves with experts. So those are the contexts here, and which is each of these is also adding to these 2 points as material, both in terms of learning as well as on and contributions. Imagine as forget all the performance appraisal pieces. You look at the what each employee is contributing to your cost. If you're running a business, there is a cost. So forget look at what those contributions are. Now, this is one interesting part. If you all have read, you've been reading management, not about degrees, but about reading management stuff, especially on organizational behavior. I think Fred Luthan's was the textbook that we all read. I came out of the school in 99. So in 97, 98, when this was being taught, in this whole chapter on motivational theories, apart from rooms and a lot of other theories, there was one paragraph which said work itself. Just one paragraph. Now, post 2000, everybody is actually looking at creating this workout. What is the exciting part? What is MuLearn trying to do? It's all about creating that excitement in the work itself. So this is another context for talent farming again. And you have examples right here. There's an interesting talk by Daniel Pink. It's a TED talk which brings about how if he had gone to economists in the early 90s and said, people will do work for free, nobody would believe him. But we have Wikipedia, we have GitHub again. Now it became part of a conglomerate, but Linux again. So lots of things here around. So the work itself. So right here we have example of our the floods time when we have the whole rescue mission was led by IT professionals working from like round the clock from various places all across the world. So got stuck. Okay. I'm sorry. That's the last one actually. Go. Yeah, the brain and neuroscience part. That is the one I wanted to talk about. Post 2000, invasive technologies have given us better answers to the problems that we had. Because it's like almost no inventions of, let's say, if you take two inventions out, microscope and telescope, what would have happened before that and afterwards? And you look at what is, and in neuroscience, the equivalent is something called as fMRI and the advanced versions of that. These are not available before that, before 1990. These are available and we get to know how emotions are formed, how evolution has driven a lot of our behavior. And this at this level, it's no longer about caste, creed, gender, anything, nationality, nothing at all. But the brain is so well wired, and that is how it will work. So we have better answers now. And how many of you have heard this TED talk on flow by, it's a tongue twister name, Csikszentmihalyi? No, it's a TED talk, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. That is, there is a book, yeah, so I've not read the book, but I think this gentleman passed away, but very interesting talk on how it's all this around work itself and the flow state of mind and what happens when people are in flow and all. So all this has made the qualifications in value reduce. Because any result that require cognitive skills using the brain, and AI is not gone into the cognition level yet. Any results that we require cognitive skills, that means qualifications are reduced value. So this is the setting up phase for talent farming now. Now, just a side note before we get into this is another concept which been trying to promote here is that there are two types of talent. Okay. So here the large market or large set is what we typically look at as job seekers. Almost everybody there would be the task of the talent farming should be to identify your ideal candidate. So you start with what role you want to get out of the candidate. So you write the description or you create various ways to attract the candidates. Here I would take an example which I read about almost 12 years back. This is from Google. So what the Google used to do at that point of time was that being a product company, there is one aspect they related to as how human brains would look at for problems. Product companies solving problems. So what is the other thing that they can connect solutions to? And they linked it up to puzzles. So they put puzzles, created puzzles which are actually in various parts of the job description. So let's say if there is a 5 steps in the puzzle, so gaming thing, so somebody who loves puzzles will go and end up solving the puzzle on the internet. They'll find out. It's like just like if somebody has come to Trivandrum from another part of the country or the world, they would, and he loves cricket, they'll find out where in Trivandrum there's cricketers are around, or where are they playing cricket, and they'll end up playing cricket or finding out within a month or so. So similarly, somebody would go in and solve the puzzle. So when they're solving the puzzle, they don't know that, okay, it's part of a selection process. Maybe the first 2 levels are just a kind of starter thing, and then by the 3rd level, the first JD will get marked. So that means that part of the talent acquisition team will contact and then say, okay, by the way we're calling, and then slowly it is then the attraction. But the person doesn't know that it was a job description, but the way it is designed, it is sure that the person will be able to solve the problem which that department has, which is why the hiring is done. So this is one way. This is a 12-year-old. So that means there are various ways in which these can be evolved and find out. So this is, again, my the suggestion and would be to look at creating talent farms which will attract these candidates. And we'll look at some ways how some companies are doing that and also suggestions around it. So these are remember these words, and if you Google, you will not get this candidate versus job seekers because Google has mostly active candidates and passive candidates. I've been trying it for the last 10 years, nothing, because this first came to us through a Twitter unconference, which was done, I think, 2012-13 period. So on Twitter, you'll get this. If you are on Twitter, if you search, there will be a lot of on hashtag candidate versus candidate, you'll get this whole concept. There are people, I mean, the whole point is there are people doing it. If it's not that I made it up and saying it, there are people doing it. Yeah, so these are some of the ways which you farm talent. What I'm going to do is to look at only the ways that you can farm talent before they become employees. Because in this 20 minutes, if I look at covering that as well, then it might take longer. So we look at practical ways in which you can do or farm the talent before they become employees. Because that's the whole, from the job seeker stack, you are trying to, and the magic is to get them to come to you rather than going after them, because it's very difficult, costlier to get them to, going after them, because the consultants are costly, you don't figure out where it is. Whereas if you get, going back to the cricket example, if you create a good atmosphere, of maybe if it's a cricket, then good nets and rain covering and lights and all, then they will figure out, maybe Google and find out that, okay, there's a good place, they'll let me go in. So the work itself, or that in that place, work becomes play for them, right? So that's the part. So find candidates from job seekers and nurture them. Now, why I put it here is LinkedIn is a good tool to start off this whole process. 2 reasons again that techies should connect to. GitHub is now part of Microsoft, so that means there is a lot of they can do a lot of stuff to nudge developers who were earlier not on LinkedIn. This is to BPM and IT audience I'm talking. But I have seen that even outside the ITS space, people have, because colleges have taken it up. By the time the first or second semester is done, most of the professional as well as normal graduation, they're on LinkedIn. So there is a place, but then how do you attract them? That's a different part. Now this is one suggested way to approach. Make your cause or the purpose behind your running the company. This takes some bit of work, but only the founders or the whoever is establishing them would do it. And make that easy to be found. Because people will search. Now we have ChatGPT and Bard integrated to search, so definitely they will search. They'll search better. So, but if you don't have those line items or text or videos or whatever is available to be found, your competitors can fake it the other way as well. So make sure your material, verifiable, is available on those platforms. Now, Candy is again, if you search hashtag Candy on Twitter, you'll find a lot of material linked to this. It's short for candidate experience. Very, I would say, unheard of in a lot of places in hiring, but the last 10 years, this has become very focused, and companies have been doing very well, regardless of size. You don't need to be the biggest of the company or Googles of the world. No, you can do it in any size. Because these two are linked, the cause of your company and the experience, you can link it up and connect and engage so that they become part of the app. So in the previous slide, those ideal candidates are the ones who are applying to you. So instead of interviewing, let's say, if you have 10 positions, instead of interviewing maybe 500 people who are job seekers, whom your AI system and all will have a tough time to figure out, you interview, let's say, 50 candidates, and you select 5 or 10 of you want. And then and the ones you reject, because you know it is candidate, it's a future hire. That is where candidate experience comes in. Because while those interview processes are happening, you don't know whom you're really going to select. If you have 5 rounds of interviews, you don't know who is going to be those 40 who you will reject. So you need to treat all those people equivalent and better, so that you end up spreading your brand value through them. They'll say, oh, we had a good company. This is the cost. And the cost will spread. And this, on LinkedIn, you can see. The better ones going and writing about the process. That's like much powerful than a Google review. So you end up creating some of these aspects. Again, you're proactively, that's why I use that term. They're not employees yet. But they will become employees. And they will, when they become, their contributions are going to be much better than what and by the way, the whole part of motivation is not required. A lot of money in particular in our state is spent on motivation training. If you connect to the cause and you attract candidates, there is no separate motivation. They're already in they know that, okay, this is what it is, Python or React Native or whatever it is, you're solving a problem. So we were the team in 2008-9 had set up one of the first few Android teams here in Kerala. This is one of the ways we looked at it. We could get, and we didn't even have a website then, but we said, okay, we will let them go to what our business is and then see what questions they're asking us. So if the question is like, okay, what am I, I'm a software developer, what do I do in media measurement? Then that is downgraded. Somebody would say, okay, hey, you guys have something called a psychoacoustic masking. What is it all about? I'm interested in it. Then the radar goes up. That is a candidate behavior for that. And similarly, see, these examples can be replicated over and over again in any of your companies. So this is the aspect. Look at and connect and engage them. And this is where the engagement can start on LinkedIn, even before they're candidates. Even before they are applicants, because and how do they know? How do you know? Because you see the activities on their profiles. They talk about, they may comment on some of your posts. So, and you generate links to them, and just like those puzzle example I used from Google. Now, extend the farm to the external world by building communities. And use your current employees themselves. And the not, I would say, majority HR, but people who will be able to answer those queries, because if it's about wicket keeping on cricket, then the wicket keeper should answer. Don't let the bowler answer. Like that, okay, not every query can be answered by the HR person. But then figure out a way that they'll answer, make sure that there's, and check whether the answers are happening, because that is what will engage the folks there. And my submission here is that the internet has allowed us over the last decade or so multiple ways to create this community on and very I would say cost-effective manner. And here the last point here is, once you start on LinkedIn, then move them slowly inside to your internal channels. WhatsApp now gives for SME 1,000 group members. If there is Slack aspect there, you can bring in those tools. So then it becomes from the large internet, you're closing into maybe LinkedIn alone and then moving it to your internal Slack group or whatever is and they may, there are people who would want to, see, my classmate runs this whole L&D program for Google APAC. So when she first told this to me, when I came to Kerala, I'd wanted to ask her about, okay, you give me your trainers list. So she said, I don't have a trainers list. So I said, oh, you don't have a trainers list. So so what she said was that, okay, we have a system where there are people who are interested in learning about something. They all get together, very similar to what MuLearn does now for students. And they would figure out, okay, if it is Python, there's a Python group. So like that, there are evangelists who would come in. And my task is to ensure that it all goes smoothly. So you will have examples of the PR part of it is Google Talks. In fact, David Eagleman, I have also seen him going and talking to Google. So they decide whom to talk and call. And like Anoop was mentioning, though, it all started with one techie talk that Deepu did, and then it all became this. Now we're in the 10th, our 100th session. So all these are now possible to be done at any scale you want using the internet, and all IT companies here, and I mean, even now we're using on the internet here now. Now, this is that's all I've had as a case. Now, all want you all to go to, maybe take your mobile and go to menti.com and log in with this code. So I wanted your answer to this question. Whom do you think should lead this whole? So this is a word cloud. With internet connection, we'll slowly get there. Can you press present? Oh, it's there. Okay. Oops. Okay, you all should be able to get it now. Are you able to log in? Can you show? Thank you for responding to this. So we are getting the answer I was expecting. What do you think, before he puts it up, we see if some. Who do you think should lead it? Everyone. Let's see how many people have written everyone. I had given 3 choices for each responses. Each login basically. Any other answers? Everyone. That's like kind of no one would do it. No, if you put it to everyone. Yes, Sunny. We'll see the answer and then we'll. Okay. There you go. It's still okay. It's still coming in. Okay. Only 30 people. So we have more than 30 people here. Team lead, assisted by HR. So Deepu, there's a long way for us to go on talent farming. So the intention here was just to build the case and to also leave it by saying that this is not new. This has been happening and it will happen. And it is for us here in Kerala or wherever it is to make sure that we have some relevant answers there. Please don't give it only to HR because the way we have here HR in Kerala mostly is around payroll and statutory, sadly. That should be like, you know that it's already a BPM thing, right? For the last, when I came here, there were people doing it for 50 rupees or something. No, 15 rupees per employee per month. There were people doing it. Now it must be 50 or whatever. So that is already that, like we said, no, Jiko was saying, oh, then BPM 1.4 million, that is already part of the 1.5 million. So so that's why some of these might go up above the heads in most places. But thanks to FIRE and Mueller and the program GTech and NASCOM, I think we'd be able to put this across to more CXOs and build it. And just I'll end by saying from 2 things which I'm really excited about in Kerala. We've had internship programs much more earlier than a lot of companies in Pune and Mumbai. Here, right here in Kerala, we've had it. In fact, the person who passed away, he's actually from Trivandrum. He was the first secretary of the Kerala Cricket Association. He's an HR guy named Mr. Paul Palliath. So he was the one who set up a lot of these programs here for large companies. So it's all here. So we can just go back and restart all those things and let's start that revolution of building and farming more talent for our future needs. So we'll have more predictable AI because that's the one which we are carrying around with all of us. So thank you, and it was really great connecting with all of you.
Thank you, Anish. Once again, Deepu has put me in the awkward position of standing between the audience and their dinner. So the good news is we don't intend to have the panel discussion for half an hour because we have heard the panelists express their views, except one. So to Prasanna, we would like you to just share with us your ideas about how you think 3 things, hiring, training, and retaining will change in this AI age.
Hi everyone. I've come all the way from Bangalore, and because I'm very passionate about this. So I've spent about 5 to 6 years running startup within IBM, focused on using AI for talent transformation. And just to sum up all of this, I'll just tell you a small little story. There's this small little country called Singapore that wants to be, there you go. So that wants to be the hub of everything, right? So they gave me a problem. They said, you know, in the financial sector, we know that in the next 5 years, the front office is not going to exist, okay? But we want any of the financial institutions, no banks, no fintechs, you're not going to fire anybody. Okay, you got to find ways to retrain and replace them in other areas. So that's where so I only know of AI as being an ally, because AI, we did a lot of skill inferencing. So I don't job roles. I believe in competency and skill clouds. So we built skill clouds of people, each individual. We mapped it to skill clouds of particular areas that the bank wants to grow in. And we found alternate roles for people. Once these alternate roles were found, then people were trained for those specific roles. And again, we used AI for that. So we never create content. We use AI to farm content for us, because that's so much more easier, that's so much so extremely positive. Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. We started off with unpredictable AI and then quickly jumped into ChatGPT, which consumed most of the time. The CBSE 12th standard exams begin this week, and the hall tickets, if you look at the hall tickets, behind the hall ticket, it says students are not allowed to use electronic devices like mobile phone, ChatGPT. So that's how popular it has become. Today's Manorama headline says the Supreme Court will be transcribed. The decisions and discussions will be transcribed by AI. But like Rajiv was saying, for everything he said against government, he gave an opinion pretty much like the government. So we don't know. At this point, I think it's wide open, but it's a very close-knit community of HR people and developers and coders and programmers. I come from an engineering college, so I am very much in the thick of what the next generation is thinking, and I don't know what they're thinking. So I'm a core group member of the Kerala Knowledge Economy Mission. We have a mandate for providing 20 lakh jobs to youngsters. And we are beginning to question if the youngsters are even in. So the future of work, all of us sitting here are addicted to the monthly salary, I'm pretty sure. Like Nassim Taleb said, it's the 3 deadliest addictions. One of them is a monthly salary. All of us would probably go mental thinking what would happen if we didn't have a job. I think that came to us from the Anganwadi and daycare center. We needed to go somewhere outside the house every day in the morning. Then we went to schools where, like Rajiv said, no effort was needed for this generation. But we were always of the boss, and we were always terrified and threatened by everything. College, and then now on a job role. So what will we do sitting at home? We don't know. But the younger generation, the next generation, extremely comfortable with it. And COVID has taught them that things do happen while sitting at home. So I think for the next event, at least, let's start inviting the next generation and asking them what they would do with something like ChatGPT, or what is it that they want to do with their life. And I'm sure we'll hear a perspective that is completely different. I'll tell you one small example of a very strange HR recruitment that happens in Trinity College every year. There is this particular company in Trivandrum that comes and asks us only for students with minimum 2 supplees. Okay, because they have experimented with the extremely talented 9.5 GPA, none of whom stay for more than 3 months or 6 months. And they also know that the other category is also interested in short film making and other things. Who have more than 20 supply are all headed towards stardom in one way or the other. So this minimum 2 supply. So this year when it was happening, I saw a couple of students from mechanical engineering also waiting for interview. And I know that they were all past students. They had 8 GPA. So I asked them, how will you, you're not qualified to be in this interview. And then they told me, sir, ഒരു കാര്യം ചെയ്യണം, അകത്ത് പോകണം, അവരടുത്ത് പറയണം, ഞങ്ങൾ തുണ്ട് വെച്ചാണ് പാസ്സായതെന്ന്. So there is always human ingenuity, intelligence, ways to work around any system that we'll create. And I think that's true for AI as well. So looking forward to a wonderful new, for me, it's probably like how when writing was invented and everybody thought, oh, this thing is now different, or when smartphone came. So computer in the bagan session, probably AI in the bagan verinu. Let's see what the bagan can do. Now over to Deepu. Okay, over to Akshaya. Thank you very much.
Now we have a small token of appreciation for our speakers. So I welcome Vinod CV, Chief Operating Officer, Kerala Academy of Skill Excellence, and the fire team for handling over the momentum. Fire team, please come to the stage. Sunny Gupta, Engineering Leader at Lation. Sunny, please come to the stage. Amrit Sanjeev, Staff Developer Advocate, Google. Rajiv J. Sebastian, CEO, Alokin Software Private Limited. Jiku Jose, Chief Executive Officer, Storybrain. Anish Aravindan, co-founder and principal consultant, SS Consulting. Dr. Arun Surendran, Principal, Trinity College of Engineering. Prasanna Nair, Founder, The Idea Tribe. And we have Umar Abdusalam, CEO, Adapt. Umar is here? Yeah.
So ഉമറിനെ നിങ്ങൾക്കൊക്കെ പലർക്കും ഇൻസ്റ്റാഗ്രാമിൽ കണ്ട് പരിചയം ഉണ്ടാവാം. He's a CEO of Adapt. So നമ്മളെ പുതിയ കാര്യങ്ങളെ കുറിച്ച് എപ്പോഴും ഇൻസ്റ്റാഗ്രാമിലൂടെ ആൾക്കാരെ ഇൻസ്പയർ ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നതാണ്. Okay, so നമുക്ക് കൺക്ലൂഡ് ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് സമയമായി. ലെറ്റ്സ് so I just have my team here first, just because it is almost a decade that we have been doing Fireport 80. So many people ask me like, why are you doing this? And how do you take care of your company in between? Okay, and it is only because I have a team that take care of things by themselves, and I have to get involved only when there is a need for me. Else, if there is no calls or no updates from them, that means like things are happening perfect, and no delivery gets delayed, no client calls or any other issue happens, so that I can feel free to be doing things that I want to, and it is just because of my team, Fire. So I just want to thank them to start with. Yeah. So, how was the session? Okay, so we started, as Anup mentioned, like we started in 2013 when, but Anup made a short mistake. Like he told, like GTech, I became the technology focus group convener, and then we started Fireport 80, but it was not the case. I initially like asked everyone like we need to have a community like this, but it was not accepted because it was considered as something that create attrition, because people come and connect to each other, they will jump companies and it will create or fossil attrition. So it was not accepted, and that is where I thought like I will start it within my company. So even if it is 5 people or 10 people, we will meet every month, first Wednesdays, and discuss on something that is technical and trending in the past 1 month. And that is how we started in 2013 June. And then after an year, like I became also part of Execo member of GTech, and then I became the academy and technology focus convener. Then we started to do it better because I got more connect and more network. And by 30th edition, so initially when we were starting this, it was just like when one company starts doing something, whether the people from other companies join, because everyone works in their own silos. So we just wanted to keep it free and open to everyone, because it is mostly about the knowledge that getting transferred, and we do not want to do it with much expense. It was happening within my company itself. And towards the 40th edition, I know NASCOM started associating with us, and thanks to NASCOM, so they actually wanted to conduct these type of sessions here. And most of the times the problem was, what Sujituni was talking to me was like, that is, we bring in very good speakers, but നമ്മുടെ സെക്യൂരിറ്റിനെ ഉടുപ്പ് മാറ്റിയിട്ട് ഇരുത്തേണ്ടി വരും ആള് കാണിക്കാനെന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഒരു പ്രോബ്ലം എല്ലാ ഇവന്റ്സിനും ഉണ്ട്. ബിക്കോസ് ഇൻ കേരള നോർമലി വാട്ട് ഹാപ്പൻസ് ഈസ് ലൈക്ക് ഇങ്ങനത്തെ ടെക്നോളജി സെഷൻസ് കേൾക്കാൻ പോകാനായിട്ട് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് സമയമില്ല, ബിക്കോസ് വി ആർ വെരി ബിസി. നമ്മൾക്ക് ഭയങ്കര തിരക്കാണ്, സെഷൻസിന് പോകില്ല എന്നുള്ളത്. ബട്ട് ഇറ്റ് വാസ് എ കൾച്ചർ ദാറ്റ് വി ന്യൂട്രർ over the years, അത് slowly evolve ആയി വന്നൊരു കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റിയാണ്. And as of now, I know Robin Alex Panikar is there. When we started it, we also started something called in 50 hours because even startup mission was not there. So Kerala Startups എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഒരു കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റി ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു, which was driven by a team. We conducted in 50 hours where anybody can come up with an idea, and within 50 hours you can build a prototype and pitch in front of an investor. And I want to say, like, there were many startups. Even the first unicorn from Kerala, was part of that in 50 hours. അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനത്തെ കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റി ആക്ടിവിറ്റീസ് കേരളത്തിൽ ഇല്ല എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് നമ്മൾ പരാതി പറയുന്നതിന് പകരം ലെറ്റ്സ് വർക്ക് ടുഗദർ ബിൽഡിംഗ് വൺ എന്നുള്ള രീതിയിലാണ് കോഫി DBG എന്നായിരുന്നു എൻ്റെ ഇനിഷ്യൽ ഇത്. ദെൻ ഇറ്റ് ബിക്കെയിം ഫയർ പോർട്ടേറ്റ് വെൻ മൈ കമ്പനി ഗോട്ട് merged to Fire in 2016. And today I'm really happy that it is the 100th edition, because when I started, I just want to ensure like it will not stop. Whatever happens, we will continue to do it, and it will slowly evolve. And always we were working, doing things for techies, just to ensure like they will keep up with the growing technologies. And later I understood like this is not going to build a bigger change, because the cream of people who are really passionate always come, but we will not be able to make a bigger impact, because the rule of one place is what majority thinks, and mediocrity is an accepted standard. പല ആൾക്കാരും ഈ ഒരു ഇൻഡസ്ട്രിയിലേക്ക് വന്ന് വീഴുന്നത് എന്താണ്, അവരുടെ ശരിക്കുമുള്ള താല്പര്യം ഇവിടെ അല്ല, അവർക്ക് വേറെന്തൊക്കെ ആവാനായിട്ടായിരുന്നു താല്പര്യം, but they fall into this was not their choice but by chance. So that is when I got the chance as Academic and Technology Focus Group convener of GTech, we planned for something called Mueller, just to work with schools and colleges to help students identify their identity. Most of the students doesn't have an identity. പരീക്ഷയ്ക്ക് മാർക്ക് വാങ്ങുക, ജയിക്കുക, എങ്കിൽ മാത്രമേ എന്നെ കമ്പനീസ് ഹയർ ചെയ്യുള്ളൂ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് ചിന്തിക്കുകയും, സ്കില്ല് ബിൽഡ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറയുമ്പോൾ സ്കില്ല് ബിൽഡ് ചെയ്യാൻ പോകേണ്ടത് ആവശ്യമില്ല, മാർക്കുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ എനിക്ക് ജോലി കിട്ടുമെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് ചിന്തിക്കുന്നൊരു കൾച്ചർ ഇവിടെയുണ്ട്. അത് പാരൻസും ടീച്ചേഴ്സും എല്ലാവരും ഇത് തന്നെയാണ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ബട്ട് one person can impact, that is the HR. If HR can ask for skills, അതിനകത്ത് നിങ്ങളുടെ ഇപ്പോൾ ഡെവലപ്പറിനെ എടുക്കുമ്പോൾ, if you ask for GitHub profile, just share your GitHub profile and show the proof of work that you have done. Then students start thinking what it is, and then they will go and start doing it. So we have created something called Mulan that anybody can feel free to come and try it. And there is around 16,000 plus students in the platform right now. And we have a very good team of students who is driving it here. And it is a student-driven platform, and industry is working directly with students. And so ഇവിടെ HR-ന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ടൊരു സബ്മിറ്റ് നമുക്ക് ഇവിടെ നടക്കണമെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ, HR is the most important part of an organization. കാര്യം ഒരു ഓർഗനൈസേഷനിൽ ആര് വർക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ വരണമെന്നും എന്താണ് അവിടെ നടക്കേണ്ടത് തീരുമാനിക്കുക. ഹ്യൂമൻ റിസോഴ്സ് മാനേജ്മെന്റ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നതാണ് അതിൻ്റെ ഏറ്റവും കീ എന്നുള്ളത്. സോ മോസ്റ്റ്ലി ഇങ്ങനത്തെ സെഷൻസ് ഒന്നും HR-ന് ഇവിടെ നടക്കാറില്ല. ഐ ഹാവ് എ ലോട്ട് ഓഫ് ഫ്രണ്ട്സ് ഇൻ HR. ദേ ഓൾവേസ് കംപ്ലെയിൻ ദാറ്റ് നമുക്ക് ഇവിടെ HR-ന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഒന്നും നടക്കാറില്ല എന്നുള്ളത്. സോ വി ജസ്റ്റ് തോട്ട് ലൈക്ക് ലെറ്റ് us സ്റ്റാർട്ട് സംതിങ്. ദിസ് ഷുഡ് ബി എ ബിഗിനിങ്. ലെറ്റ്സ് ഒത്തിരി വാട്സാപ്പ് ഗ്രൂപ്പുകൾ ഉണ്ടെന്ന് എനിക്കറിയാം, ബട്ട് ഈ പുതിയ കാര്യങ്ങൾ അഡാപ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യാനും താല്പര്യമുള്ള ആൾക്കാർ വളരെ ചുരുക്കമാണ്. സോ ഇന്ന് ഇവിടെ വന്ന് ഇത്രയും സമയം ഇരിക്കുന്ന നിങ്ങൾ ഓരോ ആൾക്കാരും, യു ബിലോങ് ടു ദ ക്രീം ഓഫ് ദ കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റി, ആൻഡ് യു ഷുഡ് കം ആസ് ദ ലീഡേഴ്സ് ആൻഡ് ബിൽഡ് എ കൾച്ചർ ദാറ്റ് അതേഴ്സ് വിൽ സ്ലോലി ഗെറ്റ് ഇൻ ടു. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് ഒരുപാട് പേര് വരുന്ന വലിയൊരു കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റി ആവശ്യമില്ല. ആദ്യത്തിനകത്ത് ചെറിയ ഒരു ഗ്രൂപ്പായിട്ടുള്ള ആൾക്കാർ ചേർന്നിട്ട് നമ്മൾ ആ ഒരു കൾച്ചർ സെറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ പിന്നെ അതിനകത്തേക്ക് ആൾക്കാർ നമുക്ക് ആഡ് ചെയ്ത് കൊണ്ടുവരാം. സോ ആഫ്റ്റർ ദിസ് ലൈക്ക് അവിടെ റിസപ്ഷനിൽ നമുക്ക് ഒരു വാട്സാപ്പ് ഗ്രൂപ്പ് ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാം. നിങ്ങൾ ആരൊക്കെയാണോ ലീഡേഴ്സായിട്ട് വരാനായിട്ട് ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ളത്, യു ഹാവ് ടു വോളണ്ടറിലി കം അപ്പ്. ആർക്കെങ്കിലും ഈ ഒരു ഗ്രൂപ്പ് നമുക്ക് ഒരു ഇവോൾവ് HR എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ സൂപ്പർ HR എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് നമുക്കൊരു ചെറിയൊരു ഗ്രൂപ്പ് തുടങ്ങാം. ആൻഡ് വി വിൽ ഹാവ് കണ്ടിന്യൂസ് മീറ്റപ്സ് ഫ്യൂച്ചർ. സോ ക്യാൻ സംവൺ ഫ്രം ദ HR ഗ്രൂപ്പ് വോളണ്ടിയർ? നമുക്കൊരു 3 പേരൊന്ന് വോളണ്ടിയർ ചെയ്ത് വരാമോ നമ്മുടെ കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റി ഫോം ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട്? Okay. Anywhere, that's fine. So, your name? Sumi is the one. Deepa, okay. Hi, Deepa. Yeah. Name? Mithun. Okay. So, and then let's have we have a dinner. And then there is also a culture program that is going to happen after that. Like we will spend some time, network, and just get connected and build that WhatsApp group slowly. It is not like everything is going to happen in a single day, right? Let's see like how it grows. Like Fireport ID came to this 100th edition. Let's have something recurring happening for the HR. And my official role, I'm just taking you quickly. Like Nandi Parayendada, first Anupampika, who did the inaugural speech. Then Sunny Gupta, who came from Atlassian. ജിക്കു എല്ലാരെയും പേടിപ്പിച്ചു എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഇവിടെ ജിക്കു പേടിപ്പിച്ചോ? ഇല്ലല്ലോ. ഇല്ല, രാജീവാണോ പേടിപ്പിച്ചത്? ആരാണ് നിങ്ങളെ ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ പേടിപ്പിച്ച സ്പീക്കർ? ആരായിരുന്നു ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ പേടിപ്പിച്ച സ്പീക്കർ? ആരായിരുന്നു? രാജീവ് അതോ പേടി മാറിയതാണ് പറഞ്ഞത്? ഞങ്ങൾ ആദ്യത്തിൽ പേടിച്ചിരിക്കുമായിരുന്നു എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. സോ അമൃത്, താങ്ക്സ് എ ലോട്ട് ദാറ്റ് കമ്മിങ് ഡൗൺ ഫ്രം ബാംഗ്ലൂർ. ഇവിടെ വന്ന് ഇന്നലെ വന്നു നിൽക്കുകയാണ്. സണ്ണി ഗുപ്ത ആണെങ്കിൽ രാവിലെ വന്ന് ടെക്നോ പാർക്കിന്റെ ഫ്രണ്ടിൽ ഇറങ്ങി കറങ്ങി നടക്കുമായിരുന്നു എനിക്ക് എവിടെ പോകണം എന്നറിയാണ്ട്. He took a flight from Bangalore, right? Yeah, morning 3:30 and he came here. Anish Aravind, he took a train and came here. Pinne Prasanna ma'am came from Bangalore, so she was already, but unfortunately ഒത്തിരി നീണ്ടു പോയത് കൊണ്ട് നമുക്ക്, and I am extremely sorry that we were not able to keep time. എല്ലാവരും വളരെ നന്നായിട്ട് സംസാരിച്ച് പോകുന്ന സമയത്ത് നമുക്ക് എങ്ങനെ കട്ട് പറയാനായിട്ട് പറ്റുമെന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഒരു ഇതിലേക്ക് വന്നു. അപ്പോൾ ലാസ്റ്റ് ഫൈനലി ഒരു പാനൽ ഡിസ്കഷനോടുകൂടി എല്ലാവർക്കും ഉള്ള ഇറ്റ് ഷുഡ് ബി മോർ ഓഫ് എ കോൺവെർസേഷൻ എന്നുള്ളതായിരുന്നു നമ്മുടെ ഒരു പ്ലാൻ. ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ചോദിക്കുന്ന ഒരു രീതിയിലേക്ക് ഒരു ഫൈനലി ഒരു കാര്യം ചെയ്യാതെ വി ക്യാൻ ഡു ഇറ്റ് ലേറ്റർ. എല്ലാം ഒരു ദിവസം കൊണ്ട് ചെയ്യണ്ടല്ലോ. ആൻഡ് ദെൻ ഓൾസോ വാണ്ട് ടു താങ്ക് ഉമർ. ശരിക്കും ഇതിനകത്ത് ലൈവ് സ്ട്രീം ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ആൻഡ് ഐ തിങ്ക് thousands of people were watching it online today. So has millions of followers, and ഇത് നമുക്ക് recorded ആയിട്ടുള്ള വീഡിയോ നമുക്ക് ഇനിയും അവൈലബിൾ ആവും. And then Nitish of Q Collective, he's also doing something in the talent space. Another guy came from Mumbai to attend it. Where is Gautam? He's also into the talent space. ഈ ടാലന്റ് സ്കിൽ ബിൽഡിംഗ് ഇങ്ങനത്തെ ആക്ടിവിറ്റീസിലേക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്ന എല്ലാവരുമായിട്ട് ഒരുമിച്ച് നമുക്ക് കണക്ട് ചെയ്ത് കളക്റ്റീവായിട്ട് പോവുക എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. ആൻഡ് ഓഫ് കോഴ്സ് നമ്മുടെ വിനോദ് സാർ ഫ്രം കേസ്, he was telling like why can't we work together. കേസ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് നമുക്ക് ഗവൺമെന്റിന്റെ തന്നെ ഒരു ഇതാണ്. രാജീവ് പറയുന്ന പോലെ ഗവൺമെന്റ് ഇവിടെ ഒരു ചുക്കും ചെയ്യില്ല എന്ന് പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ what he was talking to me is like we have 1 acre space in Techno Park. Can we work together with GTech and build a space where these students can come and learn, work with the industry, and have a talent farming opportunity? And we just decide, and he will help us set up, because they have funds also, and also some central government funds is also available. So something that we can collectively do. It is not something that is a person should do. That is all the companies should come forward together and let's do it. So adum നമുക്ക് നടത്താനായിട്ട് പറ്റും എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. Then നമ്മുടെ അക്ഷയ രാജേഷ് നമ്മുടെ ആങ്കർ ആയിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. Ranjit Ramanujam is there. He was supporting on a lot on creating the content, positioning it. Jaishankar sir, he was supporting, Dr. Jaishankar Prasad, he was supporting and coming up the team terms like we have to talk about talent farming. We have to talk about improving the talent filters. ഈ വാക്കുകളൊക്കെ പലപ്പോഴും പുള്ളിയുടെ വായിൽ നടന്നു വീണ കാര്യങ്ങളാണ് ഞാനിവിടെ എടുത്തു വന്നത്. ദെൻ നമ്മുടെ ടീം ഫയർപോർട്ടേറ്റ് എല്ലാ മാസവും ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഒരു കമ്മിറ്റി ഉണ്ടാവും. ആ കമ്മിറ്റിയാണ് ഫയർപോർട്ടേറ്റ് നടക്കുക. ഈ മാസത്തെ കമ്മിറ്റി ലിൻസി ആൻഡ് ഹാരിസ് ആയിരുന്നു. അവർ കുറേ ദിവസങ്ങളായിട്ട് ഉറക്കമില്ലാണ്ട് വർക്ക് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ്. ആൻഡ് അജോയ് കണ്ടൻറി, നമ്മൾ ഈ കാണുന്ന ഡിസൈൻ കാര്യങ്ങളെല്ലാം ചെയ്തത് രതീഷ്, താഹ, അരുൺ, ഇവരൊക്കെയാണ്. ശരിക്കും കമ്പനിയിലെ ഒരു വർക്ക് പോലും മുടങ്ങാണ്ടാണ്. ദേ വിൽ ഓൾവേസ് കീപ് ദോസ് തിങ്സ് ഓൺ ടൈം, ബട്ട് ദേ ഡു ഓൾ ദീസ് ആക്ടിവിറ്റീസ്. ഇങ്ങനത്തെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ എല്ലാത്തിനും സപ്പോർട്ടീവായിട്ട് കൂടെ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നത് രതീഷ്, അരുൺ, അവരാണ് നേരത്തെ കണ്ട വീഡിയോസും കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ ചെയ്തത്. ദെൻ ദർ ഇസ് ഓൾസോ മ്യൂലേൺ ടീം ദാറ്റ് വാസ് സപ്പോർട്ടിങ് അസ്. അവിടെ കുറച്ച് പേരിങ്ങനെ സ്റ്റുഡൻസ് ആയിട്ട് തന്നെ കമ്പനിയിൽ വന്നിരുന്നിട്ട് നമ്മുടെ ഇങ്ങനെ എല്ലാ ആക്ടിവിറ്റീസിലും ചെയ്ത് നമ്മളായിട്ട് അവിടെ നമ്മുടെ and GTech group of technology companies was really supportive. So Arun and Vishnu ഇവിടെ ഉണ്ട്. So they were supporting us in circulating this thing, and of course NASCOM. ദിനേശ് ഉണ്ട്, സുജിത്തിന് സുഖമില്ലാത്തതുകൊണ്ട് വരാൻ പറ്റിയില്ല. ഐസി ഫോഴ്സിന്റെ ഒരു കോൺഫറൻസ്, നാഷണൽ കോൺഫറൻസ് ഇവിടെ നടക്കുകയാണ്. പക്ഷെ ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഫയർബോട്ടിന്റെ 100th എഡിഷൻ ഇവിടെ നടത്തിയേ പറ്റൂ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ ഉച്ചയ്ക്ക് ശേഷം വൈകുന്നേരം വരെ നമുക്ക് ഈ ഹോൾ ഒഴിച്ചു തന്നിട്ട് അവരപ്പുറത്തെ റൂമിലേക്ക് മാറി ഒക്കെയാണ്. സോ ബിഗ് thank you. 2 days international conference was happening here, and then we have this space here, and thanks to IC4's team, and of course Technopark, Annie Moses ma'am ഇവിടെ ഉണ്ട് തുടക്കം മുതൽ തന്നെ. സോ ടെക്നോപാർക്ക് ടീം ഇവിടെ പലപ്പോഴും ഇവിടെ കുറച്ച് റെസ്ട്രിക്ഷൻസ് ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ട്. നമുക്ക് ഇവിടെ ഹെർബൽ ടീ വെക്കാൻ നേരത്തെ അവിടെ തീ കത്തിക്കാനായിട്ട് പറ്റില്ല. പിന്നെ ലൈവ് അതിന് നമുക്ക് അപ്പം കുറച്ച് നല്ല നല്ല ഫുഡൊക്കെ ഇവിടെ ഉണ്ടാവും. അപ്പോൾ ഫുഡിന് ലൈവ് അപ്പം ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. നമുക്ക് എന്തായാലും കേസ് പറഞ്ഞെങ്കിൽ കേസ് പറയാം. പക്ഷേ what we want to do, we want to make it happen, because നമുക്ക് നല്ലൊരു ഭക്ഷണം കൊടുക്കുക എന്നുള്ളത്, ഭക്ഷണം കഴിക്കുക എന്നുള്ളത്, നമ്മളൊരു നെറ്റ്വർക്കിംഗ് ഡിന്നർ ചെയ്യുക എന്ന് പറയുന്ന സമയത്ത് കുറച്ച് ലൈവായിട്ടൊക്കെ വേണം എന്നുള്ളൊരു ആഗ്രഹം ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ആൻഡ് they were also very supportive to us. ആൻഡ് അതുകൊണ്ട് എല്ലാ കമ്പനീസും ലൈവായിട്ട് ചോദിക്കരുത്. എൻ്റെ അടുത്ത് പറഞ്ഞു വെച്ചാൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് തന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഇനി എല്ലാ കമ്പനീസും വന്നിട്ട് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ലൈവ് ചെയ്യണമെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ അവിടുത്തെ ലോൺ മൊത്തം എണ്ണ ഒഴിച്ച് അവിടുത്തെ പുല്ലൊക്കെ മൊത്തം നശിപ്പിച്ചു എന്നാണ് പറഞ്ഞത്. ആൻഡ് ഷാൻ ഓഫ് ലൂമിയ ഇവൻറ്റ്സ്, ഇതിനകത്തെ ഈ LED വാൾ ഈ കാര്യങ്ങളെല്ലാം സപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്ത് ലൂമിയ ഇവൻറ്റ്സ് ആണ് പുറത്തൊക്കെ. ആൻഡ് ഓൾസോ നമ്മുടെ ജ്യൂസും ഇതൊക്കെ എല്ലാവരും കുടിച്ചായിരുന്നോ? എങ്ങനെ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു? Okay. So there is much better fees waiting for you. That is Pizza Caterers. അവർ ആദ്യമായിട്ടാണ് ടെക്നോപാർക്കിൽ ഒരു ഇത് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. So they just want to prove that they are worth. So നിങ്ങളെല്ലാവരും അവരെയും ശ്രദ്ധിക്കുക. ആൻഡ് അരുൺ സാർ, താങ്ക് യു ഫോർ ദ സെഷൻ. ആൻഡ് അമലാണ് ഇതിൻ്റെ മൊത്തത്തിൽ ചാർജായിട്ട് ഏൽപ്പിച്ചത്. താങ്ക്സ് ലോട്ട്. ഇനി പറയാനായിട്ട് വിട്ടുപോയിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ക്ഷമിക്കുക. ബട്ട് ഒത്തിരി ആൾക്കാർ നമ്മുടെ മുഴുവൻ പഴയ ടീം മെമ്പേഴ്സ് ആണെങ്കിൽ, അവിടുന്ന് പോയ ആൾക്കാരാണെങ്കിൽ എവരിവൺ ഈസ് വെരി വെൽ കണക്റ്റഡ് ടു അസ്. ഈ 100 എഡിഷൻ നമ്മൾ ചെയ്തെന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ദർ ഈസ് ഹൺഡ്രഡ്സ് ഓഫ് സ്പീക്കേഴ്സ് ദാറ്റ് came voluntarily for speaking in Fire-Potati. And 100th edition ട്രിവാൻഡ്രത്തെയാണ്. കൊച്ചിയിൽ 40 എഡിഷനോളം നടന്നു, കാലിക്കറ്റിൽ 40ഓളം എഡിഷൻ നടക്കുന്നുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. സോ ആ പ്രീവിയസ് സ്പീക്കേഴ്സ് എല്ലാം നമ്മുടെ ഇവിടെ ഇതായിട്ടുണ്ട്. ശ്രീനാഥ് ശശികുമാർ, ഹി വാസ് ദ വൺ ഹു ആക്ച്വലി ഇതിനകത്ത് റജ റഹീം ഇവരൊക്കെയാണ് നമ്മുടെ സെഷൻസിനെ ലൈവ് സ്ട്രീം ആക്കാനായിട്ട് കൺവേർട്ട് ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് സഹായിച്ചത്. ആൻഡ് നിതിൻ ഡിഡ് ദ ഫസ്റ്റ് Fire-Potati സെഷൻ. നിതിനെ 2013 നിതിനാണ് ആദ്യത്തെ Fire-Potati സെഷൻ ചെയ്തത് അപ്പാച്ചി സോളാർ. ആൻഡ് ദെൻ ഹനീഫ ഇതിട്ടില്ല, ഹി ഡിഡ് ഓൺ ആംഗുലർ. സോ ഇൻ 2013 നമ്മൾ സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്തത്. സോ ആൻഡ് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എല്ലാവർക്കും ഇത്രയും മണിക്കൂർ ഇവിടെ ഒരുമിച്ച് സോ ആൻഡ് ജിജോഷ് ഉണ്ട്. ജിജോഷ് എന്നെ കുറച്ച് ദിവസമായിട്ട് വീഡിയോ ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് പ്രേരിപ്പിച്ചിട്ട് എന്നെ കൊണ്ട് 10 ദിവസം നടന്നിട്ട് എന്നെ കൊണ്ടൊരു വീഡിയോ ഒക്കെ ചെയ്യിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. സോ താങ്ക്സ് ലോട്ട് സൽമാൻ ആൻഡ് ടീം. വിനു, ഓക്കെ. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് എന്തായാലും ഡിന്നർ കഴിക്കാം. ഡിന്നർ കഴിച്ചിട്ട് തിരിച്ചിവിടെ ഒരു ചെറിയൊരു പ്രോഗ്രാം IC4 അറേഞ്ച് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. തുടി എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഒരു ട്രൂപ്പിൻ്റെ കുറച്ചൊരു നാടൻ പാട്ടും കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ ആയിട്ടുള്ളൊരു ആക്ടിവിറ്റിയാണ്. നമുക്ക് ഫുഡൊക്കെ കഴിച്ച് തിരിച്ചു വരാനായിട്ട് ചിലർക്ക് നേരത്തെ പോകാനായിട്ടുള്ളവർക്ക് യു ക്യാൻ ഫീൽ ഫ്രീ ടു ആൻഡ് കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റി ഫോം ചെയ്യാനായിട്ടുള്ളവർക്ക് ദാറ്റ് ഇസ് വിൽ ബി പോസിബിലിറ്റി അവൈലബിൾ. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മുടെ ലീഡേഴ്സായിട്ട് വന്ന ആൾക്കാരുണ്ടല്ലോ, ലീഡേഴ്സ് HR-ന്റെ നിന്ന് വന്നിട്ടുള്ള ആൾക്കാർ. സോ യു ക്യാൻ കണക്ട് വിത്ത് ദം ആൻഡ് ഫോം ദ ടീം. എല്ലാവരുമായിട്ട് നെറ്റ്വർക്ക് ചെയ്തിട്ട് HR-ന്റെ ഒരു ഗ്രൂപ്പ് നമുക്ക് ഫോം ചെയ്യാം. ആൻഡ് വി ക്യാൻ പ്ലാൻ ഫോർ ആക്ടിവിറ്റീസ്. താങ്ക് യു സോ മച്ച്. ഒരു ഗ്രൂപ്പ് ഫോട്ടോ എടുക്കാനായിട്ട് സ്പീക്കേഴ്സ് ഒന്ന് വരാമോ? സോ ആർക്കൊക്കെ, എല്ലാവർക്കും ഒക്കെ ഇങ്ങോട്ട് ഗ്രൂപ്പ് ഫോട്ടോയ്ക്കുള്ള
എല്ലാവരും ഒന്ന് സ്റ്റേജിൽ വന്ന് നമുക്കൊരു ഗ്രൂപ്പ് ഫോട്ടോ എടുക്കാം. Can everyone come here?
എല്ലാവരും ഒരു ഫോട്ടോ എടുക്കാനായിട്ട് ഫ്രണ്ടിലേക്ക് വരാവോ? We'll take photo. No.
Wait. Wait. Ready? Yes. Ready? 1, 2, 3, start.